Hey, Jason Fladlin here. Today I'm going to talk to you about what this plus Amazon, in terms of what is the blank there, the fill of the blank, equals the greatest risk-free way to start or grow an online business. Now, let me talk to you about context. What we're talking about here today, we first did this webinar on the quadrant approach to Amazon couple days ago. I can't remember exactly when. The time kind of flies fast. It is a Monday though today, and we did it last week. So it's been within the last week. And at the end of this, we made a special offer. And if you were to invest in the Wholesale Formula through the link that we gave, you got a ton of bonuses for free. Some bonuses never offered before that I think are even greater in advantage for making this model work than anything previously seen on the internet when it comes to making money on Amazon. And a ton of you signed up, record-breaking numbers, in fact. And we were very thrilled by that because we were excited to see, okay, people recognize the value in this and they're ready to get started. And that's the only way we can truly help people, is to get them to get started and align them in the right direction and arm them with the greatest amount of resources and tools to get them there faster, sooner, and in style. Now, whether you saw that previous webinar or not, I can assure you, you are in the right place. So what's today's focus? Today, we're going to dive deeper in the Amazon product profit formula. It's a 3-part formula: scout, source, sell. We're going to talk about more specifically contacting brands of these products that you're going to sell as a reseller, what to say to them, what not to say to them, how to approach them. So we're going to deep dive into that. And then we're also going to really shine a focus on the exclusive special bonuses that we have for the Wholesale Formula, which do expire shortly. And we didn't have a whole lot of time to get into these bonuses last webinar because there was so much training involved and there's a lot here. So we kind of glanced over them, if you will. We didn't get too deep into them. Now, at any point in time, if you want to know more information, you're welcome to go to quadwin.com. And if at any point in time it makes sense to you where you say, okay, Jason, I'm in, this is totally the thing for me, you can sign up. Just go to quadwin.com. You'll see the countdown timer on the page. It is a legitimate timer that does expire at a certain time. And I also have another special bonus that I haven't mentioned yet that we were able to just add within the last 24 hours. And it's not on that page yet, but pay attention to that. I think it is apropos to the focus of what we're talking about here today. But at any point in time, like I said, if you need to go to quadwin.com to get signed up, that's where you should be. Now, quick recap before we get into some of the specifics about how you can contact these brands and be a authorized reseller of them. First of all, this model that we're talking about here, the Wholesale Formula, you can start part-time with near zero risk. You don't have to do what you mostly have to do in other businesses, which is go all in, so to speak. Excuse me. I don't like these business models where they make them black or white. You either get rich or you die trying. And unfortunately, that's 99.9% of the business models out there. They want you to jump out of an airplane without even a backup parachute. I think that's too dangerous. It's too much of a gamble to your financial future, and they don't care. You buy their products or not. You buy their products, and whether you succeed or not, it doesn't hurt them any. I care. Long term, we're in this for the real wins, which occur year after year after year. That's why we become such a big business, is by helping other people become big businesses. So I want you to remember and calibrate to this as we talk about this. We are like Warren Buffett when it comes to Amazon. And Warren Buffett's rule number 1 of investing is don't lose money. Our rule number 1 in this Amazon business is don't take a risk. Only do things that have the highest probability of success, where if you try them on, it doesn't work the first time, you make a slight adjustment and you're dandy. They have all upside, no downside. That's the focus. That's why I love this model so much, as opposed to other Amazon models, which have equal upside and downside. Yeah, you might get rich or you might go broke. I don't like those models. I don't want you to start with those models. So this is what works really good about this. You can start this without much risk, and that includes your time risk. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to fire your boss. You don't have to stay up late and get up earlier. You can start this part-time. We only focus on selling high-quality products that are in demand with this model. There are a lot of other models out there that are like, yeah, we don't really care about the product, or they pay lip service at best to the product. And I don't like that. I want you to be proud of what you sell, not just proud of the money that you make from them. So you're going to sell products that customers already love. They've been proven in the marketplace, and there's already many customers buying them. So you know that there's a market for it. Furthermore, with this model, you don't have to drive any traffic. You don't have to pay any advertising network out there. And you can just become a reseller of these products and you will get the traffic. The traffic is already there. You don't have to drive it. It's already been driven. So these products are already making serious money. You can peel yourself off a chunk of that, and you can do so ethically, because what you'll do is bring a true value. The cool thing is the value that you provide doesn't require you to be a Hercules. It's like value arbitrage. The least amount of effort, energy, and time, you can provide a tremendous amount of value. And that's what you should be compensated for, not the effort you put in, but the value you've created. And that's what's really powerful about this model. No funnel required, no listing optimization, no advertising copy expertise, none of that. And we get our trust, which is required to really build any business, because you're going to be backed by the most trusted brand in the world, which is Amazon. Amazon is the most trusted brand in the world, and it's the biggest brand in terms of commerce. It is the largest store on planet Earth. And the way that Amazon was able to grow, and by the way, should not phrase that in past tense. Amazon is still growing. It is the Bam Bam. If you ever watched the Flintstones, it hasn't even hit puberty yet. It's an oversized toddler in terms of its ability to hit true growth. There is still a lot of money being moved from offline purchases to online purchases. That's happening at a great rate still, and Amazon is the biggest benefactor of that, or the biggest one that benefits from that. And a lot of reasons why is because Jeff Bezos came up with this idea about 20 years ago. He called it the virtuous flywheel. So he says, if we grow any of these areas, we grow all of these areas. So he says, if we can increase selection and fulfillment, we'll increase the customer experience. If we increase the customer experience, we will get more traffic through word of mouth. If we get more traffic, we will attract more third-party sellers, people like yourself and people like me. And if we attract more third-party sellers, we will increase the selection and fulfillment. What I love about this is we're one half of this flywheel. We're selection and fulfillment by increasing the amount of products and the amount of products that can be fulfilled. And we are sellers. So we do that. They take care of the rest. They take care of the customer experience. They take care of the traffic. We are what are called third-party sellers on Amazon. And this is not a new concept. It's just applied in a unique way on Amazon. Most products that are sold in stores are not created by the stores that sell them. Coca-Cola is sold in third-party stores. They are third-party sellers in supermarkets, convenience stores, restaurants, and so forth. And that's what we're going to be. We're going to be like the Coca-Cola that is put on the shelves of other people's stores. In this case, it's the store is Amazon. Now, with Amazon, you can sell new or used products, your own products, or other people's products, because Amazon just wants you to sell any and every product that you can get your hands on. And that's why we love this formula, because we just have to scout the right products to also be a reseller of. We're not creating new products. We're going to resell the right products. We're going to source them in an efficient way that doesn't cost hardly anything up front in time or money. And then we're going to let Amazon do all of the selling. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about these results. I didn't talk about them on the first webinar too much before we really dive into the step 2 of the 3-step formula that I just showed on that slide previous. This is over $1 billion in results of over 960 students. And so you can go to the page, quadwin.com, and you can scroll to the bottom, and in the footer, there should be a link, I believe, that has the methodology of how these results were tabulated. And you can go to the Wholesale Formula's website, and they have a link as well on the methodology of how these results were tabulated. And I personally verified these myself. I'm the type of guy that when I play cards with my mom, I still cut the deck after she shuffles. I trust her and I love her, but trust and verify. I'm from that school of thought. So when we decided to partner with the Wholesale Formula, I said, show me the survey that was sent out, show me the actual responses, show me how you calculated this information, show me the spreadsheet. And they came back and they had a spreadsheet with entries in it of every single person who responded back along with their results. And this is how this number came to be. And so this is why I can confidently state this number to you. This number isn't current, by the way. This number is larger now in reality than what's on this slide, because it takes a lot of effort to go out there, survey audiences, follow up with them, get the results, check the data, add it all up, all that kind of stuff. So this is outdated in a positive way, meaning the number is even better now today than it was then. But, after you get to 1 billion in results for customers, you kind of quit counting. At that point in time, what's the difference? Like, I'm rounding down $57 million right now because it's 1 billion. What's another $57 million between friends? This is the results of people that are not different from you. This isn't like we only went out to people who are already successful and rich and gave them this business model. Because if that was the case, then only people that were successful and rich could do this. It's not like we only went after people who fit a certain criteria. They were under a certain age or over a certain age. They had a certain college education, perhaps. None of that was existing. There is no pattern to the success stories. It's about a process. It's not about a pattern. And I like that because that makes me confident putting it in front of anybody who has a little bit of determination and a little bit of focus. You marry the determination and focus with the plan, really amazing things happen. And that plan is this. We start with products that we only know are profitable because they're already selling on Amazon. I cannot overstate the importance of this. See, some people get this a little bit twisted. They say, oh, okay, well, if 20 people are selling a silicone spatula, I could go create my own version of that silicone spatula. And then I could also sell that. And because all these other 20 people are selling this many silicone spatulas, it means I probably will also sell the same amount. Do you see the danger in that thinking? The danger in that thinking is you're comparing apples to oranges. Yeah, your silicone spatula doesn't have 6,000 reviews that are 4.5 stars or better. Your silicone spatula doesn't have as much image as this silicone spatula. It doesn't have as good of a listing, and it isn't being advertised all over the world. So is that a fair comparison? No. It's kind of like saying, well, I got sneakers on and Michael Jordan wore these sneakers, so therefore I'm as good as Michael Jordan. We only sell products that are profitable because we're going to sell the exact product with the exact listing to the exact customer base, the exact amount of traffic that it's already getting. We have minimized the variables. Literally, we're just another seller. That's it. We are just a Me Too seller. You say, Jason, how's that good? I hear you. Because when I started on this, I wish I would have put aside my own preconceived bias, which probably cost me multiple millions of dollars. Because I said, you're a Me Too seller. Why would anybody care? That doesn't seem like a good business model. But I was wrong. I didn't do the investigation into it. I didn't realize that Amazon is so big, I can't even fathom how big it is. And I'm a supposed expert at understanding all things Amazon. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. Amazon is so big that it can't keep up with demand for its products. And they need more sellers selling the same product to prevent the product from going out of stock. That's what they need. They need an extra set of eyes on that product. The more eyes on that product, the better. Because the worst thing that can happen in Amazon's position is somebody comes to their site ready to spend money and doesn't. Can you imagine that? Here's what happens. The customer's pissed that they can't spend money with Amazon. So Amazon loses twice. So Amazon says, we need as many sellers of all these products as we can possibly get. The more, the better. We need redundancy. We need people to have the backs of the people that have the backs of the people that have the back. And when you do the math, it makes sense. And I'll show you how to find these products today. But if you could sell products like these little dog wafers that stop them from peeing on grass and turning it yellow, you would be another seller of this already existing, already successful product on Amazon, selling on the exact same listing as all the other sellers of this product on Amazon. And you'd be pulling off $2,000-ish net profit per month in and month out from this one singular product. And on it goes. See, I love showing examples of this, of variations, meaning that like it's not all dog products, it's not all pet products, or it's not all automotive products. It's a variety of different products here because you want to sell a variety of different products. And if you sold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which I think every single one of you here can manage part-time. This doesn't require you to hire people and have corporate retreats and do all sorts of fancy stuff and build a team culture, vision board, mission statement. This is just you. maybe a son or a daughter, maybe a niece or a nephew, maybe a grandchild, right? That's it. And that's only if you want to. You can run it all on your own if you want to. A variety of different products in different markets at different price points. Because I really don't care. If I can land a deal and it quote unquote only makes me $1,000 net profit per month or makes me 4,000, I'll take them both. I'll take them both. If any of you want to give me free money, I'll take it. And I won't complain. If you give me $1, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100 or more, I'll just say thank you. That's kind of how you got to approach this. Now, the hardest part of understanding this model, the wholesale formula, is knowing the math formula of how we calculated that if I were a seller of this product, I'd make this much money approximately. It's an estimate, of course. Nothing is 100% a crystal ball for certain, but it's as close as you can possibly get. It's closer than any other model by far. So I look at these products. How do I know this? Well, at first, wholesale customers were required to do this manually. They were taught in the Wholesale Formula program to go out to a listing, look at its price, determine the number of units it sells per month, times it by a certain profit margin, which you can expect when you're first starting out, and then divide it amongst the other resellers who are also selling this product as well. So you'd have to know how to apply this formula, and it would take hours to learn how to do that. And then you would have to run it for every product listing. So it could take you a couple minutes per product. This was the hardest part about the formula, is if you wanted to look and run through and find a product, you might have to go through 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 products. And you might have to do the math for each and every single product. So you might spend an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or even 6 hours to find a legitimate passive profit income stream that you could just tap into. Was that worth it? Absolutely. Did you see those results? Those results came from the manual process before we worked on automating it. But even if you wanted to do it manually, you certainly could. You could go to a listing like this, which is a home fragrance oil diffuser refilling product. So if you run out of, the nice, beautiful smelling scents, you could just pour this in there as a refill. And it's really important you look at some of the things on this listing and understand them. So this is the price, of course, one-time purchase, $40. This is the brand Mason Burger. And then this is the seller. In this particular case, the seller is Artist iHome. They're one of many sellers of this product. Amazon just rotates them. So visitor 1 sees this seller, visitor 2 sees the second seller, visitor 3 sees the third seller. And if there's 3 sellers, then visitor 4 would see the first seller again. Visitor 5 would see the second seller, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you wanted to manually calculate these listings, you would say, okay, it's $40. There's our first part of the formula. The second part is how many units per month of this product are sold. We would go down under product information, and it's listed on most products, not all products, but on a good chunk of products on Amazon. You see something called bestseller rank. And this one's 5,656 last time I took this screenshot. In home and kitchen. That's the category that is sold in. And then you could go to a site like this. I prefer a paid tool over a free tool. They're typically more accurate, but this is a free tool. So you could do this 100% for free. And you could plug in, it's the bestseller rank. This is where it's sold. This is the category it's in. Let me estimate sales. And it could spit out a number like this, 2,623. Now, what about profit margin? How would you know how much money you put in your pocket every time you sold one of these products as a reseller? You would have to say, okay, let me calculate all the fees. Let me calculate this. Let me calculate that, et cetera, et cetera. And then you would have to plug it in. Then you'd say, well, hold on a second. Different categories have different fees. So I'd have to also calibrate to that. And then how much would it cost me if I were to buy this product wholesale? First of all, as a wholesale lot, it's a lot less than you think it is. A couple $100 generally to bulk purchase your first wholesale order of a product like this. And so then how much per unit, how much blah, 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 calculating profit margin seems to be impossible up front. It actually is really simple. We've simplified it greatly. So up front, we need to say worst case scenario, 15%. And that pretty much umbrella covers every type of fee or cost or whatever you would encounter that might surprise you. Now, obviously, when you reach out to the brand or its representative and say, I'd like to resell this product, how do we make that happen? Then they'll get all the details to you. Then you'll be able to accurately, specifically know what your profit margin is. But up front, just when we're scouting for products, we just say 15%. Good enough. Sounds good to me. Okay. And by the way, I forgot to update this slide just to say 40 over there, or whatever the price is of the product that you're putting in. But we just put price of the product times units sold per month times 15%. And then we divide it across what we call true resellers. So a product like this might have a total of 13 resellers. But of those 13 resellers, some of them are not selling it and having Amazon fulfill it. They're fulfilling it themselves. Some of them are not selling it new, and some of them are price gouging it. They're selling it at $80 or $90 or $100 per bottle. Now, why would somebody do that? Why would they sell it for $100 per bottle? Because eventually they'll sell it. That's how big Amazon is. Amazon will eventually run out of every other seller, and they will reluctantly put the $100 priced product out there, and somebody will buy it. So we can eliminate them because they happen so few and far between. We don't care about them. We can eliminate people that are fulfilling it themselves as opposed to those on Amazon. We can eliminate the people who are selling it used. So even though there may be 13 sellers, there may be actually what we call true resellers, only 7 of them. So should you become the 8th? And that's when you could plug a number like this in, you could spit it out, and you could say, wow, I'm making $1,500 per month as just another reseller of this product that's already selling on Amazon. Is that good or bad? I think that's fantastic. I'll tell you why, because it doesn't take much effort to get it going. It happens in perpetuity, month in and month out. So 12 months from now, you're looking at a lot of money, $18,000 on a single product. And you're not spending any money on the following. You're not driving traffic. You're not advertising the product. You're not working on its listing, et cetera, et cetera. Net profit, $18,000 per year, doing nothing more than maintenance, essentially, making sure the product stays in stock and reordering it ahead of time. That's what's so wonderful about this business model. So when you factor in the true cost of this business, the time cost, the money cost, I don't think you're going to find a more cost-effective, more economical, safer approach to financial independence because it doesn't have a ceiling. You want more profits, go after more products. That's the beauty of this. And here's your marketing budget per product, $0. Here's your ad budget per product, $0. Here's your graphic design budget per product, $0. And here's how much time you're going to spend on working on conversions and funnels, 0 seconds. And here's how much time you're going to spend driving traffic, not any. And here's how much time you're going to spend acquiring and getting reviews and monitoring that, none, 0 seconds. That's why I believe that so many people have been so successful with this formula. And I think this is just an incredible opportunity if you're able to understand that we also automated the formula now. So we have decided that we don't like the fact that it might take you a minute or two per product to figure it out. And we don't like the fact that some of you are allergic to math and you don't want to even figure out what each of these elements are and how to go and do it. So instead, we are going to do it live. I'm literally going to, right now, go into my browser, and I am going to show you products. We're going to find them right here on the spot. This is how easy this is. So you should see on your screen now, Smart Scout. This is an app that you get for free for 3 months when you join us at quadwin.com. But you don't just get Smart Scout. You also get something that we personally developed at Rapid Crush. It's just an extension, a browser extension. And it's called Product Analyzer, Rapid Product Analyzer. And it works specifically and only for Smart Scout. So this is our company, Rapid Crush. And here's what I did here. I went under Products in Smart Scout, and we have created a filter. Creating a filter takes about 30 seconds or a minute. The main filter that I've created here is for each category. So if I were to go to a category like pet supplies, what it's going to do right now is it's going to give Smart Scout's normal numbers, which are useful, but they don't run the formula that I want to run to find what it would be like if I was a reseller of one of these products. So for that, I want you to pay careful attention. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to click one button. Okay, and I might have to refresh it here. Okay, so let me just refresh it here. I'm not sure why I didn't. I'm going to have to click 2 buttons. I'm going to refresh it. And then I'm going to go to pet supplies as a category. It could be any category. We'll do more than one. And then I am going to click this button. See that? It checked it here. And now look at what it's doing. It's building it back up from scratch so it could run our formula. Here's what we want to pay attention to. This category right here, your estimated monthly profits. So what it's done is it's analyzed every product that it can find in the pet supplies market. And it says out of every product, these are the ones that meet the wholesale formula criteria. And here's how much they sell monthly. Here's how many sellers are of this product. And here's what they're splitting it up with essentially. So if we were to go through this, by the way, just in this one category, there's 2,400 leads, 2,400 potential products that you could look at. But let's just say, for example, here's one. If you were to sell it, look at your estimated monthly profits. Looks pretty good, right? 75 resellers of this product. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a wonderful thing. Why do I say it's a wonderful thing? Because I bet you a lot of people can easily resell this product. And we can go look at the product if you want to. And here's the product, right? Now, you might notice some discrepancies in terms of maybe the price isn't exactly what was listed on the app, or maybe this is there's 26 resellers. I thought there was more than 26. What happens is, and this is important so you can get instantaneous search results instead of having to wait and twiddle your fingers, is they collect the data, they run searches at certain specific times during the week. So the data is fresh, and then they put them all in a database. That's why you can find them for free. Now, I randomly picked this. I couldn't set this up better if I wanted to. Only 14 left in stock. Order soon. This is a perfect example of why you would be a great reseller of a product like this, because they need redundancy. They need to be able to have as many sellers as possible selling this product to keep up with demand. And that's just one product that I found. So I like to go in here and I like to look at products that have a certain number of resellers. And this is one of many ways you can find these products and sort through them. All of these products, though, look good to me to scout, to go out there and try to contact, try to land deals with brands. By the way, here's another bowl stick. So these bully sticks seem to be very popular. I'll show you something else here. So let's find another one. So this is, let's just look at it. Good profit margin. If you were to sell one of these products, I like it. Let's go to the listing itself. And I think we could do better, don't you? In terms of this image, this, and this. It's not a great listing. Doesn't matter though. Regardless of how good or bad the listing is it's selling like hotcakes. And there's a whole bunch of sellers selling this thing, but most of them are not the sellers that we have to worry about. Now, if you were to do it the manual way, you would click through this, you would find all the different sellers that are not selling on Amazon, all the different sellers that are selling above 2% of the price point of what this listing is, and blah, blah, blah. Instead, our app does that for you with artificial intelligence. It applies it and it already removes every single one of these resellers that what we call aren't true resellers. And here you go. So this is a great product opportunity. Now, what's interesting about this is if you go to one of these brands, you start to sell one of their products, and look at this. There is 122 other products you can sell. Now, this one's a little weird, and this is what I like about Amazon. And this is what I like about these live demos. I'm not sure what happened when I clicked on this brand, and it started showing all sorts of different other brands as well. Who knows? And this just goes to show you that none of these are very well optimized listings. So do you think once you get this brand going and you start making a couple $1,000 a month passively or whatever the net profit is to you, don't you think you could go into them and talk to them and say, hey, listen, I see some opportunity for us to improve this even further. And also I have other products of yours that I can see we could help you with, and you could make a whole bunch of money. Yeah, but maybe that's cart before horse. Maybe we just make some money first. Maybe we do it with the lowest amount of friction possible. Let's go to another category. So this is kitchen and dining. And because we've already ran the app, we're already seeing results in kitchen and dining here. And we are seeing 671 results as of today when I did this search. It certainly can go up. It certainly could go down. But let's just take a look at one of these right here. And there you go. Now, these are interesting when products are like $200. You might think, oh, gee, I shouldn't do that because the product is too expensive. Au contraire, my friend. Sometimes these are the best opportunities. What will make or break you with an opportunity like this is depending on how many you have to wholesale up front. And sometimes if they come like 4 in a case, then that's all you have to wholesale up front. Sometimes it could be even less than that. But this would be someone that I would be interested in contacting to become a reseller of their product. And again, just to show you here, most of these brands, they don't have one product. Look at this. They have all sorts of products. Now, are you going to get every brand you contact? No. Are you going to get half of the ones you contact? No. Is it going to be 1 out of 10? Maybe, something like that. But isn't that worth it? Wouldn't you be willing to try to contact 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 15 brands? And so again, we can see another one. Your monthly buy box equity, your estimated monthly profit. This is the column that I look at. I look at the profit. There's 2,316 leads right now. And we could scroll way down if we wanted to. We could go very far down and try to find these diamonds in the roughs, the ones that we think nobody's looking at. I don't really care. This is just a list that I can easily run through one after the other. Here's an interesting one, right? Doesn't seem like it's going to be very hard to contact a brand like this and know that if we were a seller of this product, that there's massive opportunity for us. So hopefully you see that. I'm going to go back and I'm going to put this on the slide right here, quadwin.com. And we could show more later. I was talking with the guys earlier before I started this webinar. I said, the problem is the app is too good. This is what I said. I said, it doesn't look like it's doing anything because I literally press a single button in the extension and it crunches them all up. I wish it was harder than that, because then maybe you would think that the results that I'm giving you were somehow more authentic. I have made it too easy, perhaps for my own good. Where now with a click of a button in a category, I can find 1,000, 2,000 products that are viable products for me to take it to the second step, which is the sourcing step, which we're going to deep dive into here a little bit further in a second. So that's bonus number 1. Smart Scout, which you get 3 months of for free. And then you get our secret app, which has never been seen before. This is the first time we've ever debuted it, first time we've ever made it available. So nobody's got this app until now. You're now 1 click of a button away. Once you get into Smart Scout, once you've installed our app, you're 1 click of a button away for it just handing you over all of the products you can handle and then some. So when you combine that with a done-for-you website, the listing level up and keyword training, the brand bait, the VA placement, where you can have virtual assistants running the majority of your business, and some other out-of-the-box strategies like on bonus 6, and the mental state kind of training to put you in the most profitable state of being, so to speak, the most productive state of being, and the whale bonus, and so on and so on. You can see why this is amazing. These are all bonuses in addition to the wholesale formula, which breaks down step by step how you find these products, how you source them, how you sell them, how you get started in the business, how you contact brands, et cetera, et cetera. Just an unbelievable deal. Quadwin.com in the short period of time while it's available. Now let's talk a little bit more about step 2. So step 1, I hope you can agree with me. We've pretty much made that automated. A click of a button, more or less. And it's done for you. So really what makes the difference is step 2 here. Step 3 is silly because Amazon does the selling for you. Now we can improve how big of the pie that these brands have on Amazon later on, and I'll talk a bit about that. But even doing nothing more than just being another seller of the product, Amazon says, cool, thank you. I'll do all the selling. Relax. So really now the only focus that you have is on step 2, on sourcing this product. And this is where people talk themselves out of fortunes, and it breaks my heart. So I want to spend some time on this and hope you can understand you have everything within you to contact these brands, approach them, and land these wholesale deals. When you approach a brand, you can contact them first via email. Now, if you're one of those rare individuals, which I marvel at, and say, man, I will hope one day to be like you, where you're outgoing, you're extroverted, you love to pick up the phone and chat and talk to strangers and meet new friends, right? God bless you. You're a rare breed. You can call these brands by phone if you want to. Maybe a little bit faster, maybe some more effective way of doing it. The phone is a nice personal touch. But a majority of us, we can be rest assured and feel comforted that we only need to sit out and reach out to people via email. Now, the first email you send out to a brand, it can be a variety of different approaches. And really, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter what you say too much in the first email. So there's a lot of ways you can set the first email. Here's my favorite way. I like the simple and straightforward approach. Hey, I'd like to open up a wholesale account with you. Can you tell me how to do that? That's it. Nothing more fancier than that. Or these days, if I had to do it again and rewrite it for you on this slide, I'd say, I'd like to become an authorized reseller of your product. How can we make that happen? Same thing. Doesn't matter, right? That's it. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. And that works. Now, some of the brands that you approach with this email, here's a response you're going to get. Not from all the brands, not all the time, but occasionally for some of the brands, some of the time, they will respond something like this. Do you plan on selling it on Amazon? And let me give you some insight on why brands would respond back with that. Their experience of having people resell their product on Amazon hasn't been pleasant for a lot of these brands. Because these are the resellers I'm talking about earlier who are doing the price gouging. These are the resellers earlier that are doing things that are not in the brand's best interest. Sometimes these resellers are creating new listings and trying to sell the product on a new listing, which is against Amazon's terms of service, and on and on and on and on. And so whenever we see a brand like that responds back to you plan on selling it on Amazon, we get very excited. That's a deal that's just going to practically happen. And there's going to be a lot of value add that can be created there. Now, what would you say to somebody who responded back to you like this? Well, here's what you could say. You could say, thanks for the response. Interesting question. What problems have you had on Amazon? And that can be a cut and paste reply. It doesn't have to be something you have to sweat bullets over and think and stay up all night. What do I say when they say this? What do I say when they say that? Now, I want to be very clear with you here. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Because when Dan and Dylan, who created the Wholesale Formula, when they started out, they didn't have any scripts. They didn't have any trial and errors. They didn't have any if this, then that kind of statements that were created. They just went out there and they just started contacting brands willy-nilly without any strategy. And 93% of the time they were turned down. Great. Sounds good to me. You know why? Because to sell 7 products, they just have to contact 100 brand owners. 100 brand owners seems like a large number until you break it down into manageable chunks. At 3 a day, that could be done in a single month. So could you do 1 in the morning with coffee or with breakfast, 1 in the afternoon with lunch, and 1 in the evening with dinner? I think you could. Okay. Most people watch more than 3 YouTube videos a day, or they watch more than 3 TikTok videos a day, or they go through feeds on whatever social media of choice more than 3 times a day at more than 3 minutes a pop per day. So this is very easy once you break it down into chunks. Now, the Wholesale Formula has a whole section focused on if brand owner says this, then I respond with that. And all the major responses from brands have been already figured it out. I mean, human beings are pretty predictable in mass. When you contact enough of them, you'd notice the patterns. And then once you work through, okay, if they say this, let me try that. Okay, that worked good. Let me try this. And this didn't work so good. Let me try that. Ooh, that worked really good, right? So not only have the responses been anticipated and figured out and documented, the answers to those brand questions have also been figured out and documented as well. So a lot of this can be cut and pasted very quickly, very easily. The reality is when contacting a brand, there are only a few possible outcomes. This is literally, I'll give you every single possible outcome that happens if you were to contact a brand to become a reseller of their product. You can get an immediate yes, and you could place a small quantity initial order and start profiting ASAP. There are some brands out there that all it would take was for you to send them an email And their response is, here's our pricing list, and here's instructions if you want to place an order. Kind of like ordering a pizza. Now, let me be very clear with you here. Don't expect that to be the most common response. It is the least common response. The immediate yes is the least common response that you'll get, but it happens enough that you could live off of them. If all you could do, if the only skill set you had and the only finesse that was available to you was the immediate yeses, you would screw up every other deal except the immediate yes. I would give you an immediate yes, that yes, you should sign up at quadwin.com and start using the wholesale formula ASAP. Because you could do well if you just lived off of the low-hanging fruit, which is the immediate yes. Now, that's the least common response, but it's common enough that I feel comfortable. If that's the only thing that happened to you, you could work the wholesale formula and do very well for yourself. Now, let me give you the most common response. The most common response when you outreach to a brand is no response. They will ignore you, or they won't even notice that you have contacted them. And then this is where you can decide. Do you want to follow up in a few days, or do you just want to move on? Now, the best practice is to set up like a spreadsheet or a calendar that says, I contacted this brand on this day. If I don't hear back from them on that day, then I will send them a second contact. And that's best practices, right? Like, just like it's best practices to floss twice a day. Some of us do it, some of us don't. Yeah, I'm about once a day. I'm a once a day guy, 5 days a week. And so, yeah, you should consider following up with them in a few days. But if you don't, you don't. It's not the end of the world either way. The good news is hopefully you feel more comfortable following this business model of the wholesale formula, because rejection isn't a hard no. Rejection is just a cold shoulder, which happens all the time with a majority of things you're going to do when you put anything out there on the internet. You're not even going to be seen. That's okay. That's part of the game. So then it's up to you. Should I follow up in a couple of days or not? I think you can do that. I don't think you have to be perfect at that. I think if you did it kind of here and there, I think it's good enough. And you will get some of them on follow-up to go from a non-response to a yes. Some of those will be an immediate yes on the second or third follow-up. So I don't know if you call it an immediate yes, but it's a yes as soon as you get a response. So you don't have to finesse it. You don't have to have any skill. You don't have to have any negotiation power, none of that stuff, right? And that's going to happen to you. Majority of time, people are just going to ignore you, and you're going to have to deal with it. But if you can get 7 out of 100, you send 100 responses out there, 100 contacts out there, and you get 7 yeses, you're going to be rich. I mean, if you're not going to be rich, at least, you're going to significantly upgrade your financial status, which is going to significantly upgrade the breathing room you have in your life. It's going to significantly downgrade the anxiety you feel to your uncertain financial future. And it's going to massively upgrade your quality of living. Because now you could take that extra vacation. Now you don't have to split the car. You can both have the car. Now you can buy those things that used to buy and feel guilty for purchasing them. And now you don't feel guilty purchasing them. You know what a wonderful feeling that is, by the way? Not to guilt yourself over something just because, hey, I want to buy that, so I'm going to buy that. That's the quality of life improvement that just living off of a few of these yeses can provide. Now, some brands will say no, and there's no wiggle room. And there's nothing you can say or do to change that. This just is. Okay? You're not going to get them all. You're not going to get a half of them. You got to live with that. If you can't live with that, you will stay broke. And I don't like saying it that way. It feels harsh. And it maybe makes me come across as unempathetic to your plight and your struggle, which I am not. But you have to be okay with some no's if you want to grow financially. And these aren't the no's that used to happen back in the yesteryear when you would be like cold calling and knocking on doors where people would be rude to you and slam the door in your face, because you're not selling something here. I want to be very clear. When you're contacting brands, you're not selling anything. You're the buyer. You're trying to buy something. So a no is generally some sort of stupid hang up or limitation they have in their own mind, which you should not take personal. It's a deflection. It's a defect in their own character. and their flaw and has nothing to do with you. So don't let their defect keep you poor. Now, the second most common response is not a firm no, but it's what we call a qualified no. This is where they would say, are you planning on selling on Amazon? Or this is where they would say, what are your plans with this product? Or they may say certain things like, we need to know more before we could decide one way or another. And this is a prime opportunity for some of these brands where you can come in and use our bonuses. So one of the ways you'd use one of our bonuses is you'd say, this is what we like to do when we represent brands on Amazon. And then you give them a link to your website. Only your website was done for you because you filled out a form that took a few minutes as a bonus that we provided to you when you sign up at quadwin.com. Or you would go into some of the different bonuses like Brand Bait that I created, which is a customized, quote unquote, it looks customized. It's not really that customized, but it feels super customized to the brand. And you could say, as a reseller, these are the ways in which we look to improve the brand. Specifically with your product, here's what we discovered. And they say, whoa, I'm dealing with a professional here. I'm not dealing with somebody who's just trying to take my product and spam the internet with it. I'm dealing with somebody who gets it. And you know how that is, right? They don't know if you truly get it or not. They don't know if you've been doing this for a day or a decade. If you look the part, you are the part. You get the part. And that's why we give you all these bonuses and tools. And I know you can help these brands because you know more than they know because they don't know anything. They've built the brand so it can be successful on Amazon in spite of themselves, not because of what they're doing. They've reached a certain momentum in the life cycle of that product where it just sells and it's well known in its market space. So they don't know anything about Amazon. So anything that you know or can be taught very quickly, and we can teach you all sorts of stuff, and it's pretty easy to learn, could be a huge value add to them. But I just want to stress to you again, I'm giving you the full picture here, but the reality is, could you make a ton of money if you relied only on the people that said, here's the price list, here's how you order? Yes. You could live on immediate yeses, especially once you understand the magic of compounding. Albert Einstein said it best. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. I'm going to show you the actual mathematics of compound interest, of how you could get to $1 million in this business in 24 months if you just started with only $600 net profit on month one. So if you made $600 net profit on a product in month one and you reinvested 100% of your profits, and you were able to find more products like that one product that you made $600 in, then what happens is month two, you don't make $600 again, totaling $1,200 in net profit. You actually make $1,380. You say, Jason, how's that possible? What's possible is because you were able to invest more into the next product out of profit than when you first started. So instead of only having a limited amount of budget to buy a product to make $600, you have more. You're reinvesting the profits. So $1,300 turns into $2,300, turns into $3,700, turns into $5,000, turns into $7,000, turns into $10,000. And before you know it, in 24 months, you could take essentially what was like a $1,000 investment in product that turned, or maybe a $1,500, or maybe even a $2,000 investment in product that turned a $600 net profit. A $600 net profit compounded over 24 months is $1 million. You can find any compound interest calculator on the internet to verify it for yourself. This is why most people stay broke in this business. They want to make $1 million in one day, and nobody practically can do that, especially when you're starting out. But $600 net profit in 30 days is $20 net profit in a single day. Everyone can do that. And people don't see the bigger picture. They overestimate what they can do in a month, and they underestimate what they actually can do in 10. So when they overestimate what they can do in a month and they don't see immediate results, or they don't see results that immediately change their lifestyle, they quit and doom themselves to never be able to change their lifestyle. And I don't want that to happen to you, because I know you're capable of changing your financial situation to get liberation and breathing room, which is much more needed today than it was even a year ago, or 2 especially, or 5. Absolutely needed. Now, how many products are there on Amazon where you can make $600 in net profit? I showed you a filter earlier when we were using Smart Scout, and I was showing you 1,000 products here, 1,000 products there, 1,000 products here, 1,000 products there. But the filter that I was using was very particular and specific. It was a high maintenance filter. What I mean by that is I was asking a lot. I filtered out a lot of things up front before I pushed that button. Like it had to have this many, it had to have this thing, it had to have that thing, it had to look this way. I was extremely particular with my filters before I showed you the resultant products. If you wanted to, you could loosen it up a lot more and you could get thousands and thousands and thousands of more products. There's over 350 million products on Amazon, unique product listings. So how many opportunities are there for you to collect $600 on a product? It's infinite. If there's any big major life lesson that I can impart to you above and beyond just showing you how to make money on Amazon, it's this. Making real life-changing money is more just showing up consistently than it is in doing the near impossible. So many people are trying to do the near impossible, when the reality is you just got to stand in the right field and keep showing up every single day. You've been in the wrong field. That's the problem. You got to be in the right field. And I'm talking about showing up with simple products like these, like hiking socks and card sleeves and fragrance refilling cartridges and printer cartridges and chainsaw oil, things like that. And I want you to have a balanced portfolio. I want you to, under one account, be open to selling these spicy tortilla chips and these card sleeve protectors and anything and everything in between. And this is all net profit that I'm showing you here. I want you to have a varied portfolio for two reasons. One is in case one product goes sideways, you're not out. That's how everybody else loses in this business. The second reason is a wide portfolio means you are open to all the different ways in which money can flow to you on Amazon, and you don't close yourself off to all the passive income streams because they don't fit a nice little round hole or a nice little square box. That's the other reason people lose in this business is they push their biases on how their money should flow to them, even if they don't have a lot. I'm saying we get it all. So we want a variety of different products in a variety of different spaces. It's the least riskiest approach, and it's the most profitable approach. Listen, you're being called to help right now. Will you accept the call? You're being called by Amazon to help them because they're saying, hey, listen, we want to make sure these products stay in stock so we don't lose customers. You're being called on by the brand owner who has no clue what's going on. Look at this listing, right? One image, terrible listing. The brand is called Generic, which it isn't the actual name of the brand. The brand owner needs you. You're being called on by the Amazon shopper who says, hey, listen, I want to be able to find and buy these products. And I'm going to be disappointed if I can't. In some instances, it's going to cause me real grief and harm if I don't get these products. They're calling you. They need you. Amazon needs you. The customer needs you. The brand needs you. And you win when you help all of these others win. This is why we call this Quad Win. This is why the URL to sign up is quadwin.com. Now, I want to stress something to you. Walk before you run. If all you did was find listings like these that had information like this saying only X left in stock, order soon, and all you did was make sure those products did not run out of stock, you were the brand watchdog. You were the inventory refiller. If that's all you did and nothing more, that's the walking before running. That's the making the real life-changing money by showing up more so than doing the impossible. Now, oftentimes when these products look on Amazon as if they're running out of stock, it's not truly because these products are not available. It just means they're not available on Amazon. Many of these products are sitting in somebody else's warehouse somewhere else collecting dust. And so if you were on a top of a product like this, making sure that it had enough stock at all times, I am 100% certain you can make $5,000 per month if you were looking at different products and your focus was, let me just be the re-upper of this product. Let me just make sure Amazon doesn't run out of it. And that's it. And you could say, Jason, that ain't much. I'm going to tell you, it's enough. It's enough. It's more than enough. And then you can take it from there. If you want to add more value, if you want to do more things, you certainly are welcome to. The selling part is already done for you. You get the product from a brand, you place a wholesale order, you get it sent to Amazon, and then Amazon does all the selling for you. They spend more money on advertising, by the way, than the next 10 biggest advertisers online. Customers will be able to buy these products that you sell one click, credit card on file. If they're Prime members, they'll have them shipped to their door 2 days or less. How are you going to compete with that? You can't. So join them. Don't compete. And these are how these students are using this formula to be successful. They are using the wholesale formula, following the training and guidelines that Dan and Dylan were able to figure out. Dan and Dylan first started on this journey many years ago with a $600 credit card limit. And within 1 year, they sold $500,000 in product. And last I checked, over $36 million in sales across the account. If you're going to do Amazon, you got to do it with a pro. These guys are a pro with the wholesale formula. I know the number one biggest problem Amazon sellers have, especially those who are starting out. They can't get a product live on Amazon. They spend months or years and they still don't have a product live on Amazon. And you will be able to laugh at that problem once you join the wholesale formula. Why they can't even get one product live on Amazon, you're going to score winning product after winning product after winning product. The wholesale formula is more than just a course. It's a whole program, and it has community, and it has coaching, and it has resources, and it can absolutely be approached from a step-by-step, let me just follow what's on the back and do it step 1, step 2, step 3, even if you're a complete beginner. Everything in the wholesale formula is formalized. Nothing's left to chance. The wholesale formula is clear. It's logical. It's simple. It's training. It's templates. It's resources. It's fresh. They just created a brand new version of it. It's current and it's up to the minute. And it comes with TWF coaching support. You're going to get 60-day access to TWF's coaching support community, where all questions you ask are guaranteed to get a response from a TWF coach. This is an unprecedented level of support. So you can feel the relief that you'll have help whenever you need it. And something to be said about these coaches on the TWF coaching community. Each one of them is a 6 or 7-figure Amazon seller who uses the wholesale formula in their own business. So these aren't some kids off the street that are quote unquote coaches, right? These are people who've been there, done that, wear the t-shirt and have made the profit from it, and who Dylan and Dan pay money to be your coaches. You're going to get 60-day access to these coaches as well. What's the investment for the wholesale formula? It should require $10,000, $12,000, even $25,000 as an investment. If it was that much, it would be worth it. However, for the short window in which it's open for this year, you can get started today for just $874, then 3 more installments of the same space 30 days apart, or you can take care of it all at once for $29.97. And if you take that option, you're also going to get a full 30-day money-back guarantee at your side. Now, I don't care which option you pick. You're going to get the same bonuses, same support, same coaching, same everything. Just pick the one that makes the most sense for you so you can get started right now. And time is limited because this offer with these bonuses that I'm about to show you are only available until that countdown timer hits 0 at quadwin.com. And when you sign up at quadwin.com, that's when you're going to get your hands on the mother load, as I refer to it. It's a set of bonuses that are unavailable anywhere else that we've obsessed over and created with our own blood, sweat, and tears, or paid for out of pocket, and you get them for free. So the first bonus, I showed you a little bit about it here earlier. It's Smart Scout with our app. You're going to get 3 months of Smart Scout for free, and our app will be 100% for you for free forever. You may say, hey, Jason, what happens after 3 months? Well, after 3 months, if the tool is useful to you, you can pay the small amount that you are required for a monthly fee for Smart Scout, or you can ditch it. You no longer need it. That's up to you. You will have more than enough within the first 3 months to get massive value and find massive product leads that you could spend years following up on if you wish to. Quadwin.com is the only place you're going to get 3 months of this for free, and it's the absolute only place that you're going to be able to get our special product analyzer extension that I showed you earlier. With one click of a button, runs the TWF formula for you, so you can see exactly what the net profits were for customers. Yes, we automate this process of running this equation with the rapid product analyzer. We push one button, and all of a sudden you get that extra column there that will show you specifically the estimated net monthly profit that's available to you if you were able to be a reseller of a product like this. This app was specifically built by us at Rapid Crush as an exclusive bonus for you, only if you sign up at quadwin.com. That's the first bonus. Bonus number 2, the done for you wholesaler website. Now, you do not need any website to do the wholesale formula. I made sure this was a bonus for you so you wouldn't be your own worst enemy. What do I mean by that? I mean, I've seen customers in the past who went through wholesale formula, and one of the things that they would bring up on these coaching calls were, I don't have a website, so therefore I don't feel like a professional. So I don't think other people are going to take me that serious, especially brands. That's a you problem. Brands don't care by and large for the most part. Maybe a few of them do, but not that many. And so I'm like, I don't want any customer to be held back by the excuse of I don't have a website. So we just created a widget where you could fill out a form and it will spit a beautiful looking website out for you that our company designed that says all the right things, and you can put your contact information in there and it can be all about you. Now, if you were to have a third-party site do this for you, a service, it would cost you at least $1,000, and it probably wouldn't be done correctly. It still probably wouldn't look polished, and it still probably wouldn't say the right things because they don't understand this wholesale formula thing. They don't understand branding and wholesales and resellers and Amazon and none of that stuff, right? So that's why we built this app that allows you to just fill out a simple form. You put your info in, you click a button, and presto, you have a site that looks as good as any reseller could hope to look. And you don't have to pay a penny to have it developed, nor is there any ongoing cost or any monthly fees of any sort for this website to be run for you. That's bonus number 2, the done for you website at quadwin.com. Bonus number 3 is a pair of trainings that I did exclusively for wholesale formula customers. They are Listing Level Up and Keyword Radar. Listing Level Up is my latest training where I show you every Amazon listing optimization secret I know. So from the title, how to improve that, to the images on the product listing, to the bullet points, to the product descriptions, and more. I'll put to work for you the same insights that I use to improve Amazon listings to convert at 40% or higher. You do not have to improve any listing on Amazon. I just want to be very clear on that. But after you start walking and start bringing in passive income streams, you may want to increase the size of those streams. And one of the ways to do that is to improve the listing. When you combine this with the bonus that is Smart Scout has another filter. I didn't show you this right yet. We might show it to you later if we have time. That scores a product listing page. And some of the product listing pages, if you sort through them and they're like, oh, this is a 4 or this is a 6 out of 10. And you look at the listing, you're like, oh man, this thing needs some help. It sells millions of dollars in product, but the listing is terrible. We can improve it. And Listing Level Up is the training that would teach you exactly how to improve that listing. The second training I did is called Keyword Radar. I have an approach that requires 0 tools. It's 100% free to find some of these really lucrative keywords that can make a listing a lot more money. The keywords that I uncover are these unobvious ones. If you put them in certain places, there's 3 places you can put a keyword on an Amazon listing that matter. I show you all 3 of those places. You put a few of the right keywords in the right places, you can double a product's profitability in some instances, or you can give yourself a 10% per month pay raise. And so this is a training. I've never shown it or brought it out anywhere else. It's exclusive and only available to people who sign up at quadwin.com. Bonus number 4, brand bait. I have a little bit of an interesting fact for you on this. When I first showed this bonus, which we debuted a few years back, somebody took it and actually closed the brand that I used as an example. I said, here's a brand. Here's the opportunity to present to them that if you were the reseller, where they could improve at on Amazon. So I use it as a case study on how to use the template, which is the brand bait template. And an actual Wholesale Formula customer went out and closed the brand, the exact brand that I used as an example here. But here's why I designed the brand bait template. Inside of the Wholesale Formula, they give you this spreadsheet where you just look at a product listing and you plug in this piece of data here, that piece of data there, that piece of data there, and you push a button and out spits all these interesting selling points that you could tell a brand about. But it gives it to you in the raw form. It doesn't look pretty at all. It looks messy. It looks confusing. And so you would have to go out there and have somebody take that data and put a coat of paint on it, put it in a nice box, spruce it up so it looks slick. Well, that's what my template does. It takes the information and you just take it from over there and then you put it through my template. And if you do that and you show this to a brand, they will be impressed. I guarantee you. They will say, whoa, this person not only understands me and my brand and Amazon, but they also have shown me how much more money I could make. I want to do business with that person. And again, they don't care if you're fresh off the boat or you've been doing this for a lifetime. Brand bait does that heavy lifting for you to really impress upon the brands what matters. And so this is what I designed for this particular purpose for brand bait. Now, the use case for this bonus, I want to be very clear with you. I wouldn't use this for each and every product. I would only do this if I reached out to a brand and they gave me what was called the qualified yes. They say, I'm interested, but I need to know more information. It would be only for those brands that I would then go back and create a specific report customized to that brand. That would be the only brands that I'd want to use this with. So this is extra. This is optimizing above and beyond what's in the Wholesale Formula. None of it's needed, but man, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Quadwin.com. Now, bonus number 5, this is really powerful. This is VA placement. Virtual assistants. That's what VA stands for. And the reality is 95% of what you can do in the Wholesale Formula can be outsourced to virtual assistants. Very, very easily and very, very quickly. The challenge with finding a virtual assistant are vast. It's an easy concept, but it's hard to do in reality. Because to hire a virtual assistant, you need to find them, you need to qualify them, you need to vet them, you need to train them. And then if they pass all of those things and they're good, you got to manage them. You got to pay them. You got to deal with the paperwork. And that can be time consuming. And if you screw it up, it can be quite expensive. Unless you have virtual assistant placement. Unless you have VA placement. With VA placement, the VAs are already found for you. They're already vetted. They're already taught all of the Amazon basics. They're certified on their skills, and they're ready to go. They have been through the proprietary VA University program specifically designed for Amazon-based seller businesses. Don't be surprised by the time they're done if they know more about Amazon than you do. And that's the smartest person in the room who has people smarter than them surrounding them. That's real intelligence. Here's what else I like about VA placement. They monitor your VA's hours for you. They monitor their activities for you. They manage the payroll for you. and they provide ongoing training to VAs. So if Amazon introduces something new, the VAs get trained from VA placement on that new thing. Now, you may be thinking, oh my God, this is going to cost a lot of money to have a VA run my business. Well, here's the best part. $5 an hour. That's the cost. That's what you have to pay a VA to work for you. $5 an hour. You may be thinking, well, gee, there's got to be a certain contract in place. You know, like how you get a mobile phone and they lock you into a contract that you can't get out of. So that's how they make their money. Nah, not like this. You just got to work them 5 hours a week. So a virtual assistant at $5 an hour, minimum of 5 hours per week. $25 per week is all it would take for you to engage in this business, or this bonus, I should say, this virtual assistant placement. That's all it takes. And VAs could then be scouting products for you. They could be reaching out to brand owners on your behalf, as well as managing many other parts of your Amazon businesses for you. Now, here's the deal we made with VA placement. VA placement has a new member fee of $97 one time. So $97 to get you onboarded, and then $47 a month to continue to get you access to the talent pool and to the hiring capabilities inside of VA placement. We've been able to waive both of those. So you never have to pay a setup fee. And the first 12 months of your membership fee are taken care of for you. Only after 12 months, if you wish to use VA placement or to continue to use it, then would you have to pay a monthly membership fee of $47. So we are going to waive the setup fee for you. We're going to cover your first year membership. That's a savings of $661. And this offer is only valid at quadwin.com. Now, you don't have to use these VAs ever. You don't have to use them right away. If you want to wait till 3 or 4 months in, you can. If you want to use more than one VA, you certainly can. If you want to use a VA for a little bit and then decide, well, this isn't for me, that's totally fine too. All of the details and more are inside the access of this bonus when you sign up at quadwin.com. If you have any questions on that, we will certainly answer them on this call here today to get you the specifics, because I think people don't quite understand how powerful this bonus is. And also, most of you, I'm going to guess, have never had a virtual assistant in your life. So you have no frame of reference. You don't know what that's like. So we'd be happy to give some insight here on that in a little bit if you have any specific questions with that. Bonus number 6, this is one of these cool value bonuses. It's when I hopped on a call with Dylan and Dan one day, and while we were waiting for I think Dan to log in, or Will or somebody to log in to get the meeting started, Dylan says, hey, let me just show you this awesome thing we just did. This happens on a recurring basis because these guys are always doing something cool in the space. And once they were done, after I picked my draw up from the floor, I said, hey, dude, can we turn that into a bonus? And after some back and forth, we were able to. And now they break down specifically how they took a brand and sold 5,000 products in 136 minutes. So there are opportunities above and beyond just being a reseller, even just on improving a listing. There's a way to take A and B and put them together and make brand new profit streams C. And so this is a nice little slick bonus for you that I was able to score because I saw the value in it. That's at quadwin.com. Bonus number 7, I think, is important, but I readily admit that it is a strange, weird bonus. It requires you to believe in the power of hypnosis. Some people get it, some people don't. But I will tell you, it's been a significant instrumental part of my success in selling hundreds of millions of dollars of various products and services, is being able to put myself in a certain state of readiness and a state of relaxed confidence and a state of the ability to see things from a positive growth mindset. But if it does none of those things for you, it will put you in a very relaxed state. And when people are in relaxed states, they perform better. When you are calm, relaxed, and feeling soothed, you will do more in your life. So if that's the worst thing it does for you, I will be happy. Now, for some of you, it will do more than that. It'll put you in that state of mind where you feel this unshakable certainty and confidence that you can be successful. Now, this is not just an off-the-shelf set of audio tracks. This was a set of audio tracks that I had commissioned and we paid for out of our pockets that were designed specifically for customers of the wholesale formula, and specifically when it came to finding products to resell, reaching out to brands, and even just putting yourself in a state to soak up the material of the wholesale formula like a sponge the first time you heard it. So one of our clients that we have connections with is Joseph Clough, who is a go-to for some of the biggest celebrities and athletes who need to be switched on when the stakes are high. And his brain training tools have been downloaded 10 million plus times. And we paid him to custom design a specific program for those of you in the wholesale formula who sign up at quadwin.com. There's 5 specific audio tracks. All you got to do is put on a set of headphones, kick back, listen to them, and you will feel things you haven't felt before. And you will operate in new creative ways that previously have eluded you. That's bonus number 7. Bonus number 8 is the well bonus. Now, I will tell you the greatest benefit of this bonus isn't the technique that we break down specifically. We break down techniques in this bonus. Dylan walks through one of their most profitable accounts, and he has the transcript of the recording of the call that landed him that account. And that's useful and that's powerful. And it's good to see the techniques in action. It's good to see him walk it, not just talk it. Fantastic, right? I will tell you, the greatest thing about this bonus is when you see how completely unsophisticated these brands are and their representatives. They don't know anything. And that's true for multi-million dollar accounts. So not only is he going to break down how he landed this account, not only is he going to go through the full transcript of this was said here, this is why this was said here, you're going to get this epiphany where you're like, oh, wow, I can do this after you listen to this. Now, you will have to sign what's called a non-disclosure agreement in order to unlock this bonus. And the reason for that is because there's certain sensitive proprietary information that's revealed in this training. So we have to take the extra precaution. That's the only way we could get this bonus available for you. So just note that. But this is an incredible bonus because you see it in the real world and you say, really? Huh? Okay, I can do this. And that's the best benefit, I think, in this bonus at quadwin.com. And we just added a new bonus. We just added this the other day because, man, the wholesale formula just keeps getting better and better and better. Customers just keep exceeding more. And as a result of their success, they are able to document more, which then creates more resources. And so Dylan scooped us on this. He said, we have a whole new set of email campaigns from successful wholesale formula students that have landed very lucrative wholesale accounts. So this is a brand new bonus, never been offered before, these set of emails that's available to you. They will not be on this page because that's how fresh this bonus is. We didn't have a time to make it formal and official and write sales copy for it and all that kind of stuff, right? But that's an extra special, just added bonus, only available when you go to quadwin.com and get signed up in the short period of time that we have before this offer expires for this year. That's the end of my formal presentation. The time we now have set aside is for any of you who have questions that will help you decide if it makes sense or not for you to sign up for the wholesale formula. I'm going to bring on my business partner, Wilson Matos, who's been watching the chat as I've been presenting here, to help us know in which direction we need to focus so you can make a decision for this.
Excellent. Thank you for the awesome presentation, Jason. The comments and questions in the chat box are great. The team has been answering a lot of questions here. One of the questions that I saw come up a couple of times was related to how the course is released over the coming weeks. When you join TWF today, you get access to modules 1 and 2. And then every week thereafter, you get a module every week, every 7 days from the day you sign up. And there are a total of 6 modules. So by week 4, you get access to after 4 weeks, you get access to all of the content. The reason this has been done this way is because they've been doing this for many years and they've worked with many customers and made a lot of people successful. And it's a well-known fact that releasing too much content at once, while it may sound exciting to have access to the whole course all at once, it doesn't help you. They've structured the course so that you study some material, and then you do a little bit of work. You implement what you learned. And this is going to increase your chances of success tremendously. This is what's going to make you successful. If you just watch 6 weeks worth of videos all at once and don't do any work, it's just simply not going to happen for you. So in order to make you successful, it's important to release the content at specific time frames. And this is tried and true. It has your best interest at heart. The bonuses have also been scheduled to be released as modules are released, as relevant modules are released, so are the bonuses, so that again, you don't get distracted, but you have everything you need at the right time. Let's see. This is a great question here, Jason. What prevents a VA from working on my behalf who sees what's working and is profitable from jumping in and diluting the number of resellers?
Your paranoia probably prevents that. Seriously, though, there's a lot of, I get where it's coming from, because you're assuming that your virtual assistant is culturally and psychologically similar to you. The reality is, and this is not a judgment, and this is not good or bad, the reality is only a certain percentage of people have psychologically committed that they can be a business owner, and that they've psychologically decided that they are the ones who are going to take their financial matters in their own hands. That's just the way it is. A majority of people will never get there. So it doesn't even matter. You can give them the combination to the safe and they won't even open it. Now, that's one way to answer that question. Another way to answer that question is, in the totality of time and the amount of VA workers that have been through VA placement and who have worked with Amazon sellers, 0% and 0 individual VAs have ever done what you just asked. I'm not saying that it's not possible. And if we do it 10 million times, maybe 1 out of 10 million will do it. Okay. Maybe, but probably not even then. So this is important for you to realize if you're seriously going to try anything, whether it's the wholesale formula or something else, you have to be okay with these edge cases. You have to be okay with the, it probably isn't ever going to happen. But even if it does happen, is it going to matter? And the answer is no. And that's true if you're looking at, what if I contact brands? What if they say this? What if they do this? What if it happens this? What if it's that? Most of the things you fear are edge cases. They happen less than 1 in a million times. They're insignificant. It's not a good use of your energy. But unfortunately, people, they over exaggerate these 1 in a million opportunities, and they use that as an excuse to not change their situation. And that's something that Will and I don't want to have happen. So it's a good question, though, right? And I don't want to scare anybody off from asking other kinds of questions like that, because the reality is it doesn't happen. And I don't, there could be theories of why it doesn't happen, but the reality states that in all the time VA placement's been available, it's happened 0 times.
Excellent. Kathy, yes, you and your sister, who are going to be partners in a legitimate business entity you're working on forming right now, can both have access to the course and the materials, as long as you're working on one business that you're both partners in. That is not a problem. There are literally hundreds of you on this call. So if we've missed a question, go ahead and type it again in the chat box, and we promise to try and get to each and every question that's been unanswered. Sometimes the questions scroll by too fast and we miss them. Is there help setting up an Amazon account? Yes. You make believe that you never heard of Amazon. You don't know what Amazon is. You have enough technical experience to get on this webinar, so the technology is not going to be a problem, because there isn't much more than this that's involved. If you've never heard of Amazon before, all the way through being an Amazon seller, successfully selling products and earning profit, the course is going to teach you everything in between those two states. So absolutely, they're going to work to teach you the process of setting up your Amazon account. Do you have to receive inventory? How does inventory get to Amazon? Most suppliers, most wholesalers will send your product directly to Amazon for you if you request it. In cases where that does not happen for whatever reason, some of them don't want to or are not able to send to Amazon, you can use what's called a processing center or a prep center, and they will receive the inventory, repackage it as appropriate for Amazon requirements, and send it to Amazon. You're welcome to send it to yourself and you ship to Amazon, but you don't have to. It is never a requirement that you would have to receive inventory at your own house and store any of that stuff, unless, of course, you wanted to. And that's completely fine as well. There is no live one-on-one call component. The coaching calls are group calls. And that is beneficial to you as well, because not only do you learn from your questions, you learn from the questions of others, which there are things that others will think of asking that certainly you won't. And so that is going to be very helpful, but you will get the opportunity to have your questions answered. So it's just as good. The recording will be available sometime in the next 24 hours and you'll receive an email with it. You will get 3 months of access to the $99 a month version of Smart Scout, which is the version that you need in order to implement the process. And after that, that's what the software currently costs as of now. Steve, I'm not sure what your question is about something valuable to sell, but this brings up a great point. Jason, can you cover what this business would be worthwhile after it's built if somebody wanted to sell this business?
Yeah, so people place a higher than they should value on these deals with brands. So the public outside looking in, or in this case, prospective buyers of your brand or your company, I should say, because I don't want to mix the two up. Because yeah, you have a brand, your brand is contacting other brands and selling their product, right? The buying world in the business overvalues the deal you have with brands. And I say that because Amric, who you see on the screen right here, who has the testimonial, the best investment I have ever made, Amric sold not even his whole business. He sold the rights to one of his accounts. So he went out to a candy brand and he was able to become a reseller and sell their candy on Amazon. And then somebody wanted to buy that connection essentially. And they paid a lot of money for it. 6 figures they paid for that connection. And so the value you have upon an exit or upon selling your business or on selling a portion of your business is the relationship that you develop with the brands that you're a reseller of. And that's true, by the way, if you want to sell to somebody else, your company. It's also true, though, if you want to expand the relationship you have once you start selling somebody else's product. You can come back to them, and over a period of time, you can negotiate certain exclusivities or semi-exclusivities. You can then take over and be their whole representative on Amazon of all of their products and services, whatever you want to do. So the value is you have been able to sell a product that is proven that makes money, and other people out there who have a lot of money, but they don't have much else, will pay you for that. So if at any point in time you want to exit the business, you can. Now I'm going to bring up a point, and I'm cautious in bringing this point up because I don't want to overwhelm any of you. But if at any point in time, I know some of you are still on that private label kick, meaning you still want your own products. You want to put your own labels on products. You want to build up your own products over time from scratch and become the next multimillionaire selling your own version of supplements or your own version of a yoga mat or fill in the blanks, right? The best way to do that is when you have a base of products that you are a reseller of. And then you can be the pepper to their salt. You can be the sock to their shoe. You can be the left glove to their right glove. You know what I'm saying here, right? And so a mixed company that sells their own products and other people's products is the best company that you could eventually sell on Amazon for the highest amount of money. And so in any of those instances, it makes sense to be a wholesaler first on Amazon. And whatever profits you make, you can multiply those if you decide one day to sell the business, which is completely on you of whether you want to sell it or you don't want to sell it. So hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully that answers the question. Okay, I have another one here from Marcia. So I have my team text me this when they have certain questions that they want me to look at. And she says, can I actually succeed with the one entry level fee and training? I do not want to find out I can only win if I upgrade for thousands of dollars into a smaller group or one-on-one coaching. Thank you for bringing this up, Marcia. She ends it this way: no bait and switch. And I love it because it's in all caps. No bait and switch in all caps. First of all, I am very grateful that you brought this up, because Will and I operate under a very interesting universal law that is unethical and stupid, both from an ethical point of view, but even pragmatically from a business point of view. How are we going to build our own company up if the only way we sell products to people is to trick them in order to buy them? So unfortunately, because Will and I are naive in that aspect, that's the way we run our business, we start to think everybody runs their business that way. And the truth is, in this business, at least, or in this industry, very few people. You are right, Marcia, that the normal experience is to say it's this and then sell you that. And not just sell you that. That would be bad enough in and of itself, to promise one thing and give something lesser than that. But then to do it in such a way where it makes the consumer feel held hostage, that they have to pay more money now. In for a penny, in for a pound. Ever heard that phrase? Nothing is required here beyond what you're signing up for at quadwin.com. This is not we sold you step 2, 3, 7, 8, and 9, and now you got to pay another $1,000 for the other steps. Or, we sold you something that kind of worked, but it really works if you pay us $10,000 more over here. None of those things exist. Every single result we showed you earlier in terms of the customer results came from less resources, not more, less resources than you get today. Because Will and I and Rapid Crush, our company, we provide these additional bonuses to you. We have made it even easier. And so I will swear on a stack of Bibles, under oath, everything you need is contained in and of itself in the program at quadwin.com. And you could argue that, hey, listen, if we chopped it up and we made a fancy upsell, downsell, cross-sell, this, that, and the other, and we just made the front end lower in price, we could probably make more money, at least in the short term, and then make all the money on the back end by increasing the amount of people. But here's the way I've been taught to do business. I just put it all together. And if it's $29.97 or if it's $8.74, then that's what it is. And then we think intelligent people who understand the value of something will see it and say, great, I get it all at once. I don't have to, be paper cut a million different ways, Chinese water tortured over a period of time to get it all. I get it all at once. Now, when we don't even give it to you all at once, we release it to you in different segments because we know that that's in your best interest to help you be even more successful. Our big magic trick here is the more successes we can create, the more customers we can get. And so it'll be working in our own best interest to make sure that we can do that for you. And so hopefully you believe me, because at the end of the day, you only have my word. So you have to weigh that and trust that or not trust that. And we'll do our best here to even answer more questions along those lines to help us see if it makes sense or not. Quadwin.com. That's where you go when you sign up. And I got a couple more questions that I wanted to hit as well. We're on this. Okay. Mike says, what's the incentive for the brand owners to allow me to be a reseller for them? Very good question, Mike. The number one incentive is most brand owners would prefer to sell in wholesale, not retail. A brand owner would much rather prefer to sell 50 units to you than to sell 1 unit to 50 individuals. They're on another level. Brand owners right now are on another level. They don't want to sell them 1 at a time, 2 at a time. That's okay. Doesn't mean that it's not worth it for you to sell them 1 at a time, 2 at a time on Amazon. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason is, of course, brand owners, you want to protect them from their own ignorance. And their own ignorance in this regard is most of these brands have been established before Amazon became a thing. They don't understand the value of Amazon. They don't even keep stock up to date on Amazon. And so the second value you bring to brands is the ability to stop them from losing money. And they might not even realize it. But here's the thing is, we operate in ways in which we become habituated. Whether they help us or hurt us, doesn't matter. We are creatures of habit. We establish a habit and we stick to it. Brand owners have this habit of being very open to having as many resellers as possible and as variety of different categories as they possibly can and as many channels as possible selling their products. So the incentive is, this is their reality. This is already in line with what they're used to. And so they want more of that. Oh, cool. You're coming and I can sell you product. I know that world. I understand that world. I can take your money. Sounds good to me. So that's really at the nub of it. That's the incentive for them to sell it to you. Hopefully that makes sense. Well,
Hey, Jason, I got a good one here from Sophie Ann. How can we beat the competition? I love this question because you are not competing. That's
well, you beat the competition by just showing up. That's how you beat them. The real competition is yourself. And I can speak to this as one of these people who lost out big time by being my own worst enemy. I sat on this opportunity and didn't take a look at it for years. It was only because Dylan and Dan were smart enough to be persistent. Because this is going to sound weird out of context, but if you know me, you know in this space, I'm a big fish. I may be the biggest fish in this space. I am the Moby Dick of Amazon, and everybody's trying to capture me because they know that if I sit down and I craft a webinar to sell their product, and Will and I get together and conceptualize a bonus package, and we deploy all of our wonderful staff and people at Rapid Crush to help us with this, and we go out there and we sell it, and we give it our good housekeeping seal of approval on it, it will make millions of dollars. So the good and bad in that is I get approached by 100 people a year, if not more, who want me to do that for their product. And most of them, they don't have something that I would devote the time, the effort, and feel good about going out there and promoting. Now, Dylan would come to me and say, we got this thing. It's really good on Amazon. And I just flat out didn't believe him. Because I was probably like what you're thinking. I'm like, wait a second. If everybody started to be a reseller of these products, wouldn't he erode the profit potential? Wouldn't it be a race to the bottom? Wouldn't they just start cutting their own throats to spite their face? Wouldn't they just start discounting until there was no profit left over? That's what I thought. The reality was, though, I was completely wrong. When I did the actual thing that most people don't do, which is look at it, set aside my biases, and just see it in the real world. The reality is every damn day, there are millions of products that are sold where there's 10 or 15 or 12 resellers on the product, and they're just all getting a profit slice. And it just happens over and over again. There's products, I can get into the whys. Hopefully this won't overwhelm anybody here, but if it does, we'll unpack it further. There are price equilibriums that just seem to occur for these products. The brand owners don't allow them to get out the door at a certain price. So everybody's kind of locked in there. And most resellers, for one reason or another, they don't approach it the way the Wholesale Formula teaches. Most resellers approach it like this. Hey, I got my own e-commerce sites that sell LED lights. So I'll also be a third-party seller for other people's LED lights. And I'll mostly sell them through my Shopify store because I already have one of those anyway. And as an afterthought, I'll throw them on Amazon. That's kind of how a lot of resellers go about it. Or a lot of resellers go about it where they don't go straight to the brand because they talk themselves out of it. They think, well, the brand won't sell to me directly, which is a mistake. But, people's realities are their perception of reality. So instead, they find ways to get it at a discount on site A and then arbitrage it on site B and all these other things, which are busy work to make less money. And so the main thing that happens here is everybody's stepping over this and not understanding it and ignoring it continues to allow it to be evergreen. And Will and I have now been selling this for 3 years. And a majority of people We can't sell enough of these things. I could sell 100 times as much of this, and we would not have to worry about any competition whatsoever, because most people aren't willing to look at the facts. They talk themselves out of it. That's how most people stay poor. They talk themselves out of the opportunity that would get them rich. It's not that they don't have the opportunity. They find ways in which they can feel good about not saying yes to the opportunity. So in this particular instances, and I'm saying this because I was guilty of this, it doesn't seem to make sense on the surface. But once you drill down into it, it makes perfect sense, because this is how people behave, and they will continue to behave this way. And if you could be one of the few people who understand that, then you can profit from it. So that's the answer. And you don't have to believe me. Any independent investigation on, you could look at these brands and do historical data analysis on all these different brands and resellers, and you can see the opposite has happened. Not only have these brands continued to plug away with multiple resellers, the brands have continued to grow, and the resellers' size of the pie has continued to increase. So literally what you're worried about, the opposite of that has happened in actuality. Which is why Will and I sit on these webinars for hours and hours and hours and do multiple webinars to help drive that point home, because it's not easy to get the first time.
Yeah, at a very basic level, you don't have to compete with other sellers. You're just joining them. So by just showing up, you're part of the profit-making machine. Literally, yep. Somebody asked, how do you know what to price the product? I think it was Joyce. Joyce, you just price it what the other competitive sellers are priced, and that's it. Whatever the price is, you just match it. You don't have to beat them.
Yep.
There's no need to beat them. You just match them. Jason, I sent you a couple of more questions.
Yeah, I saw that. Because I think Joyce also asked, what about selling internationally? I live in Italy. Yep. So 2 levels to that. First level is, if you live in Italy, sell on the .com. So sell in America. Amazon.com is by far the biggest marketplace, and it's the first pond every one of us should be fishing in, regardless of your personal location of where you reside. Italy, Estonia, Antarctica, doesn't matter, right? So sell on the .com. After you get some passive income streams coming in and you're making some decent money and you feel good about it, experiment a little. And that's when you may decide, because, hey, listen, I know this market because I live in it. Maybe and Amazon happens to have a marketplace in it as well. Maybe I should also sell in that. Okay. This is where we get into this weird dilemma in business. I would rather have a 1% share of $1 million than 100% share of $1. So in places like Italy or France or Japan or some of these other Amazon marketplaces, it is like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, you can get all the brands you can stand, and you can get a bigger percentage of the profit available on Amazon. But percentage isn't the same as dollars. So you will find, even if you can get 100% of the market in Italy for the product, it's probably going to be less net profit than 5% of it on the .com. Now, so eventually you should do both, but it's hard to do both at the beginning. So at the beginning, wherever you are in the world, you should sell on the .com first. And then over time, you should start to cautiously and slowly investigate your options on what advantages do I have if I sold in my own local backyard as well on my own Amazon whatever. And then you can decide to pursue that. But 9 times out of 10, it still will not be as lucrative as you selling on the .com. Now, the real beauty of the answer that I just gave to you is you can be anywhere in the world. This is one of the benefits we brought to the Wholesale Formula when we came on, because prior to us, most of the customers in the Wholesale Formula lived in the United States, or at least North America. But Will and I, we go all over the world to try to find and help people. And so a big significant majority of the customers that we can help are also international, not just domestic. We help anybody who's willing to help themselves. And so it doesn't really matter where you're at in the world. You can do this business model. That is a fact. And then Jennifer, let me ask that question while I'm on a roll here, Will. How much, she says, let me read it specifically. Jennifer says, how much more do we need to invest for products estimated ideally? Anywhere between $500 and $1,200 is my answer. It's not a hard and fast rule. And if you say, I got 300, we can make 300 work. You say, I got 200, we can make 200 work, right? You say, I got 2,000. Okay, cool. Don't spend it all because you don't need to. Having more money is not an advantage. The only disadvantage of having less money to place for inventory is you have to be a little bit pickier at first. If you are on a limited budget, you might have to contact a couple more brands because you might get a brand that says yes, and only to discover their yes is you got to place this much order up front. And if you try to negotiate with them and you can't get anywhere, then even if that brand would be a good deal for you, you have to pass on that because you have to find a brand that fits in your budget. So you might have to contact some more brands. That's the only downside to having a smaller budget initially to place an inventory order. I will tell you though, in experience, here's how this actually plays out through observation I've seen in the real world with real customers. If they land a brand and they can't come up with the money to place the order, it's really easy for them to go to a friend, a family member, or somebody they know and say, here's the deal. I got this opportunity here. Here's the facts about it. I'm short this amount of money. If you want to contribute some capital to it, I'd be happy to give you this percentage of profits. And so they can bankroll the deal. And most of them do without me teaching that to them because it's so obvious. This is like the money's right there. So then you can become resourceful. So don't limit yourself by the money you have on hand right now to determine whether you should do this or not. Because I believe that once you get inside, you're going to see that the most important thing isn't the amount of money you have to make this work. It's the plan, it's the formula, it's the bonuses, it's the resources to unlock and uncover these potential passive income streams. And then it's very easy to creatively find ways to get your hands on them. And you only have to do that once or twice. Once you get the profits rolling in, then you can keep all of the money yourself and you can reinvest at a profit to grow and to compound your profits. Nice. Charles says, good session. I've decided to take the plunge. Excellent, Charles. Now, remember, we're not plunging here, though. We're dipping the toe in the water, right? I get the plunge. The plunge comes from the psychological commitment that, yes, I'm signing up and I'm in. So that's the only real big, gigantic leap of faith you'll have to make. In this business, we don't take plunges. We slowly and surely and ease our way into the success. But Charles, nonetheless, I am so grateful that you have decided to join us today and you have entrusted us. And I appreciate that. And we're going to do everything we can to help get you there with all these resources, with everything that the Wholesale Formula has backing you. Welcome to the family. It's always good to get a couple of those in, right, Will? Because like I'm usually answering the toughest questions for the most skeptical, jaded folks that exist.
I
right?
throw you some easy ones once in a while. Give you a little break. But don't get too used to it. We have some more hard questions here.
Ooh, here's a good one.
Going.
Speaking of which, from Neil, right? Neil says, you mentioned there are no upsells with this program, but failed to mention having to fork out money for a resale license. You're right, Neil. You got me. You'll have to fork out like, what is it? Like $50, I think, for a resale license.
Depends what state and what city. Sometimes they're free. Sometimes they're $20. Sometimes they're $30.
Yep. And I'm being a little bit playful with you there, Neil. I know where it's coming from. When we say profit margin, when we calculate in that 15%, that's meant to be a catch-all. Because the reality is if we tried to nickel and dime everything out, we would never get to the big picture, and then nobody would get involved. And by the way, let's be very clear, there's no immediate upsells. If you like the coaching program, there's opportunities for you to continue on that without after 60 days are over with. And that's disclosed, and you can see all that information. And same thing with Smart Scout. After 90 days, if you want to continue to use that, you can. The difference here is everything you get to sample and try and use first before you decided if you need it long-term, and nothing that would potentially be something you'd want long-term is required. You don't need any of that stuff long-term. With Smart Scout, for example, you can get more than enough leads in those 90 days to then satisfy you for many, many years to come. So it's not something that is essential or even needed. Everything is optional, and all of it you get to experience first, and you get to use it first to be successful before you would ever be on the hook for anything else. Because we didn't mention the Seller Central account either, right, Will? So you got to have any Amazon seller that sells on Amazon has to have an Amazon Seller Central account. And I can't remember what it is. It's like 30 or 40 bucks. $9
or something like that.
Yeah, there's like two levels to it. So The reason we don't mention all of those is because there's a little bit of nuance to what really amounts to peanuts at the end of the day. The real investment is plainly on your screen, $29.97 or 4 installments of $874. Your first initial inventory order, which we discussed, those are really it. Those are really it. And if you want to feel extra safe, round up. Throw in another 500 or another 1,000 for miscellaneous expenses, knowing full well you probably won't capture any of those or need any of those. Yeah, here's another one, right? Wendy says, just
Joyce.
joining and feeling excited. I love that emoji, by the way, the party hat emoji. Yeah, nice. Welcome, Wendy. I'm glad that you've joined and you decided, hey, listen, let me get in on Amazon, right? And not just any on Amazon's the best place to be at online, but not just any way on Amazon. Let's get in on Amazon in the way that I would feel most comfortable having anybody I care about start on Amazon. And that's with Wholesale Formula.
Joyce, it is recommended that you set up a corporate entity, an LLC or an S Corp or something like that. It is not absolutely necessary that you do so. You can start as selling as an individual, as a sole proprietor. Those are questions that you may want to ask of your accountant, for example, for best tax advice. But none of that is required. It also doesn't matter where you live in the world, you can sell on Amazon.com. There are a couple of exceptions. I don't know what the exceptions are, but I've heard of a couple of countries where like the US has embargoes and they're like, persona non grata, like you can't do anything with those countries because they're being sanctioned or whatever. Those will be the exceptions, but pretty much any country that has normal relations with the US.
And if you're in one of those countries, you already know the answer. You won't have to ask us. You already know you can't do it.
If you're in one of those countries, you probably aren't even allowed to join Zoom calls. So you're probably not here.
Yep. I started as a sole proprietor, by the way, because it's kind of like I didn't own anything, so I had no liability when I started.
Yeah.
So what's the fastest way to get in the game? And then after it started rocking and rolling, then you can go back and you can get like an LLC or whatever you feel comfortable that makes sense in your situation with the professionals that you contract out and talk to help you make such decisions. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, don't let those steps keep you from making money and getting started. Those are bureaucratic steps that you can take later. Like people wonder about taxes, right? Like how much taxes I'm gonna have to pay. I hope you pay $1 billion in taxes because that's what I want to pay someday. My goal in life, not really, but I'd love to pay $1 billion in taxes because guess what? That's not a problem. That means I probably get to keep $1 billion for myself, right?
At least.
Serge, you're in Canada. There are a lot of Canadian members in the Wholesale Formula, and I mean a lot. So let me just tell you, I don't know what the specific details are to your questions, but the coaching team is going to be able to help you through whatever those questions, the details are. Just know that there are a lot of people in Canada using this training and setting up and have set up successfully this business model.
Yeah, 30% of the customers that we bring into the Wholesale Formula are international. And we've been doing this and the few times it's available each year for 3+ years now. So we haven't ran into an issue yet that we haven't been able to solve.
Roger, this is not legal or tax advice, but I'm going to ask your question to the best of my knowledge as a layperson who has gotten advice from professionals. As of this year, Amazon added the final 3 states for which they collect sales taxes. So now they do handle all sales taxes for all states that require sales taxes, which used to be painful to have to handle as a seller. Now Amazon handles sales taxes for every state. It is my understanding, as our advisor has told us.
It's nice to be aware of the full picture of that, but the reality is nobody has ever gotten rich who sat down and said, I needed to know all the details, big and small, on this thing before I do it, right? what they look at when they evaluate opportunities like this is, here's how I would recommend doing it. The first thing you want to look at as an opportunity is where you look for an unfair advantage. So you say, listen, if I have this amount of energy and I have this amount of intelligence and I have this amount of resources, I want to deploy those in an environment where they can get the best return. Because you can work really hard. Like if, say, trust me, right now I'm trying to build up a YouTube channel, man. It's really hard. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of special expertise, and it still takes a lot of time. It's a tree that you plant and you water and you take care of, and it still takes a long time to grow. Okay. Half of that effort or a tenth of that effort I could put into a different business and get 10 times the result. We're looking for that unfair advantage. Now you say, Jason, why wouldn't you only do that? Well, after you make several $1 million, then you can pick and choose things that have different economics involved. Until you get there, priority number one is make sure the mortgage is paid or the rent's paid. Make sure that you are not treading water financially, right? So you want to go and you want to find the things that represent the biggest upside with the least amount of downside. And ideally, you want to find the things that don't require specialized knowledge. You want to find the things that require small amounts of knowledge and that you can understand immediately the first or second or third time you hear those. And that's the wholesale formula. So the rest of the details are there. You're going to have to pay sales taxes on any products that you sell anywhere, technically speaking, no matter if they're online, offline, here or there, anywhere. And if you don't today, don't count on it being the same case tomorrow. Eventually, the government's going to figure out a way to tax whatever product you sell. It's just the way that it is in most instances. That doesn't really matter big scale. What matters big scale is, where can I go where I don't have to improve as an individual my own skill set hardly at all, but I can get a bunch of money and provide a bunch of value. It's that whole story, that cliched, boring story that I, as a speaker, have resisted speaking, but I'm now going to reluctantly tell you this story. And you've probably heard it before because it's cliched. Man calls a plumber one night because he's having problems and he can't get it to stop leaking in his house. The plumber comes over, he taps on something, and then he said, "Here's my bill, it's $500. And the guy says, "What the hell? You just were here for 5 minutes." He goes, "Yeah, you don't pay me for the time. You pay me for the solution. $500, not the time involved," right? So that knowledge of knowing where to tap, that's the value in that equation. So we're looking at, where do we tap where we only have to tap once and a bunch of value comes out, a bunch of money gets made. And that's this model. We don't have to create the products. Somebody else created them for us. We don't have to create the listings. Somebody else created them for us. We just have to find the right products, which, spoiler alert, we've created the bonus for you. It took Will and I 3 years to figure out how to do that. What you can now get in 3 seconds. We figured that out for you. And then it's a matter of approaching brands. And we can give you the scripts, the emails and such to approach them. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of growth that's going to be required for some of you. It is out of most of your comfort zones to reach out to brand owners and engage in dialogue with them. But it's just a little bit out. And it's pretty much as close to being spoon-fed to you as we possibly can. And you're playing an environment where there's huge demand, big profits. Amazon's figured out the shipping and the fulfillment and everything for you. That's how you have to evaluate opportunities like these. Where is it that I can put the least amount of effort in and get the most return? Being exactly who I already am today, with as little change in my own personal understanding, knowledge base, and skill set as humanly possible. If you got that, the rest of the stuff can be figured out. If you don't got that, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. And that's why Will and I get so excited to come here and partner with Dylan and Dan and present the opportunity, which is the wholesale formula at quadwin.com.
Somebody asked, what happens if I run out of inventory? You will learn how to manage your inventory so that you don't run out. But if you run out, it's not a problem. As soon as you ship more inventory to Amazon, it'll just start selling again. Yep. Ideally, you don't want to run out of inventory, but if you do, it's not a big deal. Nothing bad happens to you. or your account?
Yeah, nothing bad, first of all. And you can pick up where you left off when you get more inventory. Now, with that said, it's very unlikely that you, student of the wholesale formula, are going to run out of inventory, because that's like the only thing that you really have to manage. You don't have to make sure the production line is working. You don't have to make sure that the labels and the designs are there. You don't have to make sure that this, that, and the other. You have to keep extending product lines and SKUs and whatever. That's what the brand does. So you don't have the burden of all of that. So it's really easy, if that's the main metric that you have to focus on, to make sure it stays in stock. With that said, though, the coaching and the training in the wholesale formula provide you with ways to make sure that you stay in stock too. Rules and things to follow.
Here's a good one, Jason. Giorgio asks, is it still possible to do this caveman style to get started before deciding to invest money on your product?
It's totally possible, right? My assertion, though, is that it will cost you more money to not buy the wholesale formula. Let me explain, right? First of all, everything that I teach, and I know where you're coming from. I'm sure you've seen the first webinar that we did, because I mentioned caveman style, where Dylan and Dan just went out half-cocked and started shaking trees and seeing what fell out of them, right? Everything that I teach and train on allows you to, on your own, be able to do it independent of whether you buy anything that we offer at the end. To me, that just feels good to train. Here's the manual way to do it. Now, if you want to do it manually, you can, or if you want some automation, here's the investment in the automation. So if you wanted to work the formula yourself by hand and calculate on each and every product, you certainly could. If you wanted to trial and error your way to figure out, here's what I do when the brand says this, the brand says that, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want to then figure out some of the other little things that are not that big of a deal, but are easy if you screw it up to lose some money instead, you're like, oh crap, I only made 100 when I could have made 500, right? You are totally within your own rights to do all of that stuff. From my vantage point and experience, having worked with over 150,000 paying customers in my career, it will take you a lot longer. You're more likely to quit. What money you might make will be less. And when you total that all up, it's more expensive in your particular case to not invest than it is to invest. Truly it is, because now you can do product research in seconds instead of hours. That alone saves you all the cost right there. The ways in which you can approach brands, you will get 5 times as many brands to say yes with the wholesale formula than you will on your own in the same period of time. And time is everything in this business, my friend, because of the power of compound interest. So there's absolutely the only people that should not invest in this and who should approach this caveman style if literally you have no money whatsoever to your name and you won't get it anytime soon. And maybe those people exist. I don't think there's really any of them on this webinar where that is the case 100%. There are instances where it's going to be uncomfortable for you to make this investment, and you're going to have to allocate certain resources from over there and bring them over here. And you're going to have to maybe bring other people in to help you initially, right? But we can walk from one destination to another, or we can get a ride. We can drive there. And for most of us, we'd prefer to drive than walk. And a lot of us have access to the vehicle. This is the vehicle. But nonetheless, if you said the only way I can do this is on my own, and I refuse to take on any training or help from anybody else other than what you've given me for free today, yes, you still can do it. And if that was your only option, I recommend that you do it. I recommend you do this regardless of whether you do this with us or not. I just know, having done this enough, that doing it with us is the much preferable option 99% of the time. And so I just assume it to be 100% true because it's so close to being 100% of the time. Regardless, though, is this model can be made to work whether you have a guide or you do it on your own. But Amazon is big, my friend. And if you don't have a guide, it's easy to get lost.
Let's toss the hardest question of all, and actually an easy answer to it. How soon can you start making money with this?
as soon as you can get a deal with a brand. So if you go out and you reach out to a brand and get a yes immediately the first time you ever contact a brand, boom. And that brand, by the way, has a product that can immediately be sent to Amazon. You could be making money so fast your head would spin. We're talking a week after you learn the formula or the model, or not even the whole modules. You don't have to go through all the wholesale formula modules. Just go for the first two and you're styling. Okay. Now, I don't want you to count on that because that's an unlikely scenario for a majority of you. The problem with probabilities is they don't really tell you much. If I say on average, it takes you to contact 11 brands to get a brand to say yes, and that's just a number I made up, right? Some of you, the first time you contact a brand will get a yes. Some of you, you'll contact it, and on the 11th time, you'll get a yes. Others of you, by the way, will contact it, and on the 22nd time, you say, well, Fladland said it was 1 out of 11 and it took me 22 times, right? Well, you ever flip a quarter and it lands head twice in a row? It ain't supposed to do that, but sometimes it does, right? So probabilities, the challenge with them is they work good on a group level, but they don't work at all on an individual level. And so the real name of the game isn't how fast can I start seeing profits? The real name of the game is how risky is this for me to try out? And the answer is, it's the least riskiest model I've ever seen. The second question is, how good does this scale? Meaning that once I start it going, it will continue to go on its own. And the answer to that is it scales like a mother, like you wouldn't believe. It is amazing at how once you can set it, you can forget it. Truly. I'm sure you've heard that cliche a million times in this business. Everybody gives it the good talk on their product, but very few of those cases are actually true. This is one of those cases where it's true in reality. And when it comes to time, I don't think that there's a faster Amazon business model to make money with reliably that doesn't require you to also sell your soul. There are models on Amazon that will make you money faster, but you will work them like a dog. And the moment you quit working them, they will quit working you. And the profit margins on them are stupid small. So Bed Bath & Beyond in my local area, they just went out of business the other day. And at first they started saying 50% off, then 60% off, then 80% off. The final day, which was last Saturday, 90% off. I knew for a fact I could go down there, I could load up several carts, and I could stand in line for an hour or two, because that's how everybody's going to be hunting a deal on the last day. Then I could come home, I could package those up, I could send them to Amazon, and I could sell them at normal retail prices. They had last time I went in there, and I didn't even want to go in there. The damn kids begged me, Dad, let's go. Dad, let's go. I said, fine, we'll go. The whole time I'm complaining. I'm saying, the 2 hours we're standing in line to get this deal negates the deal. But they're kids, they don't care. And, they had all these dish sets. They had like a 16-piece dish set where they got 4 big plates, 4 small plates, 4 coffee mugs, and 4 bowls. And they were 90% off. And I knew I could buy those at 90% off, turn around, go home, list them on Amazon at slightly less than retail price, and eventually sell all of them. But the problem with that is all the manual labor involved, driving down to the store, standing in line, filling up the carts, packaging it, getting them sent to Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. That's the first problem. The second problem is deals like that don't exist on the regular. They're unpredictable, and you got to hunt and find them if they don't fall into your lap. That's the only faster way I know to make money on Amazon, where you literally could walk down to the store or go down to the store today, buy it, send it to Amazon tomorrow, and have it be selling next week. That's the only faster way, but it's fraught with peril. It's manual labor. It's hard to work. It's unpredictable, and the profit margins on it suck. Because you can't sell it. You can't sell 10,000 units in a month or even 1,000 units in a month. You can't do it. So this is the fastest, quickest way I know that works at scale without you having to do manual labor. Quadwin.com. By the way, I bought 2 of those dish packs for personal use.
Jason answered this question earlier. The business model and the techniques work in any Amazon marketplace around the world. So Yuki, you're in Japan. This works in Japan. I don't know about the software specifically, Smart Scout, for example, but keep in mind that everything that you need to do, you can do without software. It takes a little longer to do it manually, but as Jason said, even if you're in Japan, you should absolutely start selling on the Amazon.com store, which is the US store. It is by far, by leaps and bounds, bigger than any other Amazon store around the world. So there's no reason for you to not sell here. The techniques and how to do everything from buying to wholesale to selling retail works on any Amazon store. In fact, wholesaling and retailing is the oldest business model on the planet. It is the oldest business model on the planet. Back in the days where you used to go to a farmer's market to buy your produce, somebody bought that from the farmer directly at wholesale prices, came to the market and sold at retail prices. It's no different than that at its most basic form. So yes, absolutely. How does Amazon know to send money to you to sell your offer? When you're a competitive seller, meaning that you're matched on the lowest price as everybody else or within 2% of that price, Amazon simply rotates through the sellers. So let's say that there are 10 sellers in a listing. 5 of them are selling for $20 and 5 of them are selling for $50 or more. The ones that are selling for $50 or more, they don't even show up. Amazon, they will only sell if everybody runs out of inventory and they become the lowest priced, even at $50. Then they will start selling if somebody's willing to pay that amount of money. Those are called opportunistic sellers. They don't make money on a day in and day out basis. Those that are priced competitively, meaning they're all about the same price, Amazon just gives one cell to each of those and rotates evenly throughout. That's the most simplistic way for you to understand it. The course covers this in more detail, but you can think of it in a simplistic way of every seller gets one cell and it rotates evenly throughout, which is why from a research basis, we can tell you what the potential profit is, because we know via the formula who the competitive sellers are and how Amazon is going to rotate through those sellers. They're not going to be accurate to the dollars and cents, but they're pretty good idea of what the potential is. If we missed your question, please go ahead and type it again and we'll be glad to answer. We'll be sending the recording out tomorrow, so just watch your inbox for an email from Jason Fladlin tomorrow with the recording. Oh, Terry asks an accounting question or finance question. What's the difference between 30% ROI and 15% net profit? Is the 30% ROI gross profit? Dylan, you've been quiet. You want to tackle that?
To be teed up. So let's anyone that wants to talk to me and Dan. How about this? If you have a question that you want me or Dan to address specifically, in the chat, just put our name on the front end of your question, Dylan or Dan or Dylan and Dan. We'll go through and hit up a few of those. But this is a good question for Dan. He can explain what ROI means and what net profit means. And
all right, so ROI and net profit kind of indicate the same thing. They indicate the profit of your business, right? But they're kind of universally looked at differently. ROI is typically a function of your purchase price. So think of it as, if I spend $15, how much money will that return to me? So an example would be, if I spent $15, I got back 20, it returns $5 in profit, correct? So now, if you look at net profit, typically that's used more holistically within a business, like as a monitor, right? So whenever we think of net profit percentage in a business, what we're looking at is as a collective of sales. Say I do $100,000 in sales, how much money did I make? So it's more of a function of sales as opposed to purchasing. Whenever we use both of those. So it's important to kind of mention that as you get in tune with your business, you're going to use both of those calculations. So whenever we're looking at buying a product, what we're looking at is our ROI. And then once the product has sold through and we're looking at how things played out, then we're looking at things like net profit and things like that. Hopefully that made sense.
I see a question here from Jeff, and he asks, how are returns handled and general customer service handled? Is it by Amazon or is it by me? And the answer is largely it's Amazon does that part for you. That's one of the great things about selling on Amazon. Most customer service, most return issues are all handled by Amazon. Here's a really cool thing about returns and this business model, customer returns. If the product was damaged at Amazon's warehouse, it was damaged in shipping, Amazon takes responsibility for that and pays for that return. And what I mean by pays for that return is they cover, you get paid for Amazon damaging your product.
Just like you sold it.
Yeah, it's like you sold it. They pay you full retail for it. So it's actually, you usually are like fingers, and this has happened to us before. One time we sent in a whole pallet of product to Amazon one time, and they lost it. And it was literally like we sold a whole pallet of inventory instantly because Amazon said, our bad, we lost it. Here's the full retail price for all of that inventory that you just sent in. It's like, oh, great. So it's like sometimes you just get lucky and, kind of win the game.
Sometimes you get lucky and Amazon loses or damages your stuff. It's happened to us too. Like we're literally like we send in like hundreds of units of something, and all of a sudden we get paid for it because it got damaged, lost, or they can't find it or whatever. And it's people normally would be concerned about that, but that's actually a great thing because, like you said, it's literally like somebody just bought it all at once at a profit.
Yep. So that's great when that happens. And then, let's say the product was defective, there was no issue with Amazon. If the product's defective, many brands will allow you to return it to them if it's a defective product, and you get reimbursed that way. So returns are really just like not a thing that you have to ever think about.
Yeah, they do happen. It's a small percentage of your sales. And when you go through the numbers, you will figure out that all these little potential like expenses that you would think, oh, I got to add this expense or add that expense, or I got to pay for Seller Center account, I got to do this. Like you think all these expenses will add up and eat into your profit. That has largely been accounted for in the 15% profit margin that is in the formula. Because in all reality, there's a huge potential for much more profitability on a given product. But when you account for all these other potential things, 15% profit margin is a pretty good metric to conservatively evaluate a product with. Amazon does not throw out unsold inventory. As a seller, if you had inventory that didn't sell for whatever reason, you can ask Amazon to destroy it, or you can ask Amazon to send it back to you, but they do not just simply go out and destroy inventory.
Here's a good one from Jose. Jose says, isn't Amazon recently started to increase the cost to third-party sellers along with passing on some of the return costs to sellers? Haven't heard anything about the return cost to sellers, but something about when Amazon raises, like let's say they charge higher fees for people to sell on the platform, it's mostly meaningless because it's applied to all people that sell on the platform. So if it's applied to everyone, it's like it was applied to no one. And what happens when that goes on is just the prices of products move up to compensate. So anytime you hear about Amazon changing fees or increasing fees, there's a lot of people like freak out about that. But anyone that's been in business and knows has experienced that sort of stuff before knows it actually doesn't really mean anything. It just means the price of everything goes up to compensate, just like everything else, the way it works in commerce and the economy. If someone has to start paying more, then the price just goes up. So
the only people that get squeezed on that are beginner sellers traditionally. So this is one of the reasons why private label and some of these other Amazon models have fallen out of favor. Because if you don't have any sales, you can't raise the price, multiply anything by zero, you still get zero. So the wholesale formula is great because you are leveraging existing sales from an existing brand on the existing platform. And so the costs are just absorbed and they're just increased. And so it's a nothing burger at the end of the day. Whereas it would be a concern if you are not using the wholesale formula methodology.
Kathy signed up. Congratulations, Kathy. We'll see you in there. She said super excited about diving in, or rather dipping her toes in, which is great.
Yeah, we're gonna change that vernacular, right? I mean, I get it. Psychologically, you're committing to a new decision to run a whole new business. That's the only diving in I want you to do, right? In this business, we are so cautious. We're like my dad used to say. I learned this term from my dad. He says, "You want to be a white knuckle investor." I said, "Dad, what's a white knuckle investor?" He says, "Son, I want you to picture your grandma driving to church on Sunday holding the wheel, white knuckle investor." I said, "Okay, interesting." Most businesses, you got to take massive risks. This one, I want you to be a white knuckle Amazon product seller. Take the least amount of risk possible. Marcia, by the way, asked this question: is bonus number 7 available immediately? Any bonus is available on the page quadwin.com. It'll tell you when they are available. I do appreciate what you're saying, though, Marcia. You said, "I acknowledge probably the biggest obstacle I face are my own limiting thoughts, beliefs, and habits. And this bonus is a great remedy." Marcia, or Marcia, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Forgive me if I'm getting it wrong. Everybody's biggest limitation at the end of the day is what's between their ears. Most of us just aren't aware of it. Most of the work that I do as a coach, as a consultant, has little to do with the person's business, has mostly to do with their beliefs centered around the business. Like, think about what we've done here today. The belief of, why would a brand do business with me? That is an imaginary demon you have under your bed. In the reality, it doesn't exist. The belief is, why wouldn't sellers race to the bottom and cut prices until nobody makes money? That's a fear that's not rooted in reality, but whatever you believe tends to show up in your life. And so that is most of us. And this is why compulsive success bonus number 7, which includes hypnosis, is the single greatest, easiest way I know to increase somebody's belief in themselves and belief in their capabilities. And you do that, you change everything. And so that bonus is available. You'll see the information on that when you go to quadwin.com underneath bonus 7. All bonuses have a release date. So it's specifically released under there. So I don't want to quote it from memory. You can just go there and reference it. But yeah, I think that's an incredible bonus, although I understand and I anticipate that it will be undervalued by a majority of people.
Yeah, bonus 7 is available right away. And like Jason said, if you go to quadwin.com, you will see some important things. You'll see the timer on the top of the page. Some people are asking when this cart closes, when this offer expires. There's a timer on top of the page. If you go to and scroll through the page and look at the bonuses, underneath every bonus, there's a note that says exactly when it will be released. So you can just see for yourself. We've done the best job we possibly can to be extremely transparent as to when you get, what you get, etc. So it's all on quadwin.com. So if you don't have that page open right now, you should open up a browser and type quadwin.com. Even if you need to watch the recording before you sign up, or you need to wait a couple of days, you need to talk to somebody, you should absolutely leave that open in a tab in your browser, quadwin.com. Go there right now so that you don't forget. At the bottom of that page, you'll also see a link to support. So if you need to contact support, right on the footer of that page, there's a link to contact support, and our team will answer any questions that you may have.
Karen asked a question that I want to, kind of play it out here and just give an example. So Karen says, "I'm in Australia. When I start as a reseller, am I purchasing directly from brands only in the US and then selling on .com?" And the answer is mostly yes there. I wouldn't say only in the US. So I'm going to walk you through like what the typical the typical process of this would look like for someone from, and this will apply if you're in Australia, if you're in the UK, if you're in Germany, if you're in the Netherlands, if you're in Spain, the process is going to look incredibly similar to this. So you'll first start by going to the Amazon.com and signing up for a seller account, just following the requirements to create your seller account, being someone from Australia, which isn't that going to be that complicated, that complex. And in the program, the Wholesale Formula, we have all kinds of resources that explain exactly what you need to do to be able to do that. Boom, that now you have an Amazon seller account. So what you'll do is you'll use Smart Scout, find some great products that you could sell. You'll email those brands. So, and there's like a 12-hour time difference in Australia and in the US. And you know what? When you're sending emails, that doesn't really matter. So you'll send emails at whatever time of day that makes sense for you. I mean, maybe you'll be sending it to someone in Texas, right? And they'll receive it when they wake up the next morning. They'll see your email. They'll approve you. They'll maybe send you an invoice to buy product. You'll pay that invoice. They'll get it back, right? And then when it's time to ship it in, you'll just exchange information the same way that we teach you in the program, and they'll send it direct to Amazon for you in most cases. So if they're in Texas, if their product is in Texas, they'll send it to an Amazon fulfillment center that's in Texas, most likely, just like an hour away, and then your product will be live and selling on Amazon. And that's the whole process. You're able to do it remotely from any country, just merely communicating by email for all these logistics to take place. But you can do this, and we have done this before. Sometimes there are brands from different countries, or maybe there are great brands in Australia that make sense to sell in the United States. And maybe they already have inventory existing in the United States, so there's nothing that has to be shipped over the Pacific. So it doesn't necessarily have to be US-based companies, but 99% of the time they are, is what we find. Very rarely are we ordering from companies outside the US, and if they are, it's Canada. So yeah, simple process.
I had
Awesome.
a question.
I love a question from Ashley here. What is the success/failure rate of the people who sign up?
That's what I wanted to tackle.
Oh, go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, the answer is I have no idea. We don't formally measure and track that. And you might say, well, why is that? I think we can get into that here. The reality is, under what context do you measure success or failure? Is it specifically this amount of money needs to be made in this amount of time? And if so, we'll deem it a success. And if not, we'll deem it a failure. That doesn't cut it. If we can say, listen, everybody who signs up, we divide it across all sellers, the number of revenue that we can verify. And if we can't verify it, we don't count it. So 1 billion divided across the totality of all sellers. Is that the average success rate is blank? And then anybody who makes less than that isn't successful, and anybody who makes more than that is successful? That doesn't really cut it either. And success is also measured on what time frame. If you started and you don't make money in month 1, do you quit? And is that success or is that failure? If you would have stayed on for a month more and you decided to quit a month early, is it because you failed or is it because the program failed, right? So the way I always look at it is this, and this is why we like to make ourselves available for questions and answers, is what would cause you to succeed or what would cause you to fail if you went through this program, okay? And I can answer that on a meta level. If you would offer up your concerns, I can even answer that on an individual level. 100% of the people that don't go through this course will fail 100% of the time. I can state that with absolute certainty. If you don't follow the program, you are guaranteed to fail. Now, if you follow some of the program, you might succeed. This does not require pinpoint precision in order to be successful and profitable. Some of you will succeed sooner than others, and some of that has to do with luck. You just so happen to contact that brand that morning says, man, I wish another reseller would join my army of resellers. And then you, boom, hit the inbox and they say, thank you. You've answered my prayers. Let's do business together. Others of you won't succeed as fast as possible because you'll have to contact more than the average number of brands in order to get one to say yes. Some of you are starting on smaller budgets than others, and that could play a part, although it's not as big of a part as you would think it would be. Ultimately, I can't answer that question, and even if I could, it wouldn't be useful to you. The average temperature in Iowa is about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, but I've been to Iowa when it was negative 50 degrees, and I've been to Iowa when it was 112 degrees. And so the average temperature doesn't tell me much. Hell, it snowed here in California this weekend. On Saturday, we got snow, something that almost never happens. And so the reality of it is what would it take for you to be successful? That's what we have to figure out. What is the determination that most helps you be successful? And what is the thing that prevents you from not being successful? Here's what's going to help you be the most successful. The more brands you reach out to, the more successful you will be. So the real name of the game at the end of the day is how many brands can I reach out to as quickly as possible with the least amount of stress or worry? And then how many of those responses can I follow through on? That's it. There used to be 2 problems you had to solve in this business. Now there's only 1. The 2 problems used to be, how can I find the right products to sell? And then how can I reach out to brands? That's now been reduced to how can I efficiently reach out to brands? Here's the second part of that, though, too. How do I deal with problems when they come up? Okay, so listen very closely. I'm going to break something important down right now. Your experience in the wholesale formula will not be problem-free. Just like it's not going to be problem-free in any business that you do. You will run into challenges. You will run into unpredictable events. Things will not go your way some of the times. There will be setbacks. That is the case in all of life. What to speak of business. The real question is, how do you deal with those setbacks? Now, 2 things I can speak to that. 1, we have minimized the setbacks 2 ways. We've minimized that with the program itself, with everything that comes around it, right? But the second way is we minimize it is specifically how we approach Amazon to make sure the problems don't occur in the first place. Now, here's the other beautiful thing about this. Are you open to asking coaches for help? If you are not, it's going to be harder for you to succeed. This is a resource that's available to you, but it's only useful to the degree in which you use it. You have coaches, and those were intentionally provided to you, knowing full well you will run into an obstacle or 2 or 3 or 4 along the way. So the more brands you can contact, the sooner you'll be successful. And the more likely you are to use the resources available to you, specifically the coaching resource and specifically the Smart Scout product finder resource. That's going to be your best bet. I'll give you one extra thing that will help tip the deck of success in your favor. Your ability to reduce things down to their level of simplicity. So like earlier, somebody asked us, they said, well, what kind of business entity should we start? That's too complex right now. Okay, now obviously do your own research, your own due diligence or whatever, but I can only speak from personal experience when I said, listen, I just started with the business entity that got me in the game that was the easiest for me to go. And once things started kicking up, I made some changes. You know, if you start saying, well, what about all of these things down the road? Yeah, those are down the road problems that can be dealt with down the road as well. So some people will say, I want to sell in Italy or I want to sell in Japan. You can do that in due time, but not right away. He who tries to ride 2 horses at once ends up riding 0 horses. So reduce it down to the simplest version that you can manage. And really, at the end of the day, it's running Smart Scout with our secret app to uncover products to then approach brands with, and then keep it as simple as possible when you're starting out until the money flows in and you gain some experience, and then using the coaches around the way. Oh, wait. There's one more lesson, okay? I'm on a roll now, so forgive me as I preach here. Here's the last lesson. Your ability to follow directions without interpretation. If it says push this button, push the button, okay? Don't say, well, I heard from so-and-so whose course I didn't buy, but I listened to them on YouTube and they say to do that instead of this. You ever heard of too many cooks in the kitchen, right? If they say, here's the process, follow the process until you get experience. Once you get experience, you can deviate. You can adjust it. You can personalize it. But until you know better, stick to the directions that are given to you. All of those things are really the cheat sheet for you to be as successful as you can, as quickly as you possibly can. Are there people that take this course and fail? Yeah, absolutely there are. Your goal is not to be one of them. And so my advice given to you will greatly increase the chances of that happening. The real big failure, though, is not doing this, in my opinion, because I don't know any better way to get started on Amazon.
There are, to your last comment there, Jason, there are a lot of people who buy training courses and never go through them. So back to Ashley's question, what percentage of people succeed or fail, which, Jason, thank you for the awesome answer to that question. But do you count those as in the percentage of failures? Like if half the people don't even do one of the things that they are taught to do in the videos, those are absolutely going to be failures, right? So like Jason said, follow the directions, which includes watching the videos and doing the work that they teach you to do before you go on to the next video. And that is the formula to success. The reason the wholesale formula is named as such with the word formula in it is because it's formulaic. And when you follow a formula, you don't change the formula if you want to get the results that the formula promises to give you. You don't change a recipe and expect the meal to come out exactly the same. It may come out better or worse, but you don't know. If you don't follow the recipe, it won't come out the same. That's all we can say, right? So follow the formula. Once again, if you have any additional questions that we haven't answered yet, please go ahead and type them in the chat box. I think at this point, we're coming pretty close to having answered all the questions at one point or another during this Q&A.
Yeah, let me throw out while we wait some questions. I'm happy to throw out like some scenarios to make this real for people and for them to like kind of see through our eyes what it's like to have a business like this and operate it and expand, and just like some real life examples of just over the last few months of what wholesale has been like for us. Right.
Yeah. So some more questions have come in. We'll put that on hold for just a second, Dylan. Joyce asked a great question. Will you train us on how to possibly become exclusive sellers for a wholesaler? The answer is yes. Not only will that be part of the training that you get, but interestingly enough, when we did this last year, or maybe it was the year before on this webinar, Jason showed an example of a product on the webinar that was a very badly put together product listing. And he used it as an example of a product that was selling well, but could have a listing that was done up better pictures, better descriptions, and so forth. And Dylan, you just shared with me recently that one of the people who signed up during that program, during that time, went on to contact that brand after they learned the process and became their exclusive seller. What was the product?
That was a horse product. It was a Quinity horse. So that's happened like 100 times, by the way, Wilson. That we have shown something on a webinar, and then someone came back to us. It was like, hey, I got that product that you showed. Emmerich is the person who you see their testimonial right there on the screen. Yeah, he's a great example of that. Literally, we were doing a live training one time, and we showed a rock candy product. And we were showing examples of like how to research the company and see where they're from, so you can email them. And we were like, oh, they're from Las Vegas. Is there anybody from Las Vegas here? And he just posted in the chat. He's like, yeah, I am. And I was like, all right, well, here's a next level strategy. You can try to go meet them in person then. And he did that, and he got the exclusive account. And that's ultimately the business, the wholesale account he sold for $400,000. We literally found it for him on a webinar and said, hey, here's a strategy you can try. And it worked. I mean, that happens all the time.
And it happens frequently because these products are not hidden. They're right there in front of you. Like you run the software, you go through that list of products, and you determine which one you want to try and approach the reseller for. And if you get a resell account,
like they're hidden in plain sight, and then you use the software, and it's like putting on the night vision goggles. Like you can just see them, you can see it again.
Yeah, Jason, I still remember how you talked about that product. It literally had a horse's behind as one of the pictures. And it was a bad picture of a bad looking horse too.
Well, the funny thing was, and I showed this in the brand bait guide, I literally went to their website. I did a Google search. There's a certain Google search you can do just to show images. So I did a Google search for that site that said only return me the images on that website. and I found 50 beautiful images. So I showed the brand, I did a before and after. I said, here's what your listing looks like right now. Here's what your listing could look like. And it's just a template. You just copy and paste it. So I didn't even design anything new. I just took the really awesome, amazing stuff the brand developed that nobody was using on Amazon. And I kind of just pointed at it and said, we could do this thing that already exists. My whole point to that is brands aren't paying attention. That's how you get paid, to pay attention on their behalf. And yeah, it was funny that I used that as a report, and somebody says, "Okay, I'll just get it."
So here's this is even cooler, because I did not remember that you used that in the brand bait report, Jason. This is even cooler because you will get to see, as one of the bonuses, the example that we're actually talking about. That particular listing, the way it used to be, you will see it, and you can get to go see what a Wholesale Formula customer or member has done with it, and gotten the exclusivity on the reseller account with that brand. That's really killer. So the possibilities, but walk, like Jason said earlier, really important. Walk before you run. So you're not going to go out and try and get exclusive deals before you ever sell a product on Amazon. You're just going to follow the formula and start selling products on Amazon from resellers. Now, somebody asks, I know there's no guarantees, right? Of course. What if I buy this program and spend $2,000 in inventory and don't profit? Do I have to spend another $1,000, another $2,000, another $3,000? When does this stop? Here's the thing about this program, which is unique in the way that you select products. You're not selecting a product by saying like, hey, I know that silicone spatulas sell great on Amazon. Let me go find a vendor of silicone spatula and create another listing and try and compete. In that case, you don't know if you're going to be able to sell your silicone spatula. But if you find the silicone spatula that is already selling, you can see that it sells thousands of units a day, and you can become a reseller for that same brand on that same listing, you're going to sell. There's just no way that you're not going to sell. That's the difference there. You're not trying to find a product that sells and create a product that is exactly the same. You're actually selling that product on that existing listing. And so it is unlikely, if you follow the formula, that you won't sell. It is also unlikely that you won't profit if you sell, as long as you follow what the course teaches.
There has to be
For example, the course teaches you to price competitively. If there's a whole bunch of sellers selling it for $20, you can't get cute and say, I'm going to sell for $25, because then you're not going to sell. You got to sell at whatever everybody else is selling. How do you know if that's going to be profitable? You run the numbers, and they teach you to run the numbers. You do the math. Oh, if I can buy for 10, Amazon's fees are X, I'm going to keep Y. That's it. It's not complicated math. It's just adding and subtracting. That's it.
Yeah. Now, could today's hottest seller dry up tomorrow? Absolutely. It happens. It's so incredibly rare. But yes, markets can be disrupted. And so you have to say, is that unlikely event going to occur more than one time in a row for me? Probably not. But let's just say it occurs 2 times in a row, and you put 1,000 in the first offer, 1,000 in the second offer. You got to say, listen, am I the unluckiest SOB who's ever existed, or am I still committed to trying this? I wouldn't blame you if after like 2 completely black swan events in a row, you might just decide, well, God doesn't want me to do business anymore. But I'm going to tell you, if you're unlucky, whether you're in this business or another business. So you can't base any business decision you make on starting a new business around an edge case event that is almost unlikely to happen. And by the way, if it happens once, you can weather that. It had to happen 2 times in a row. And man, if you base your business only on things that are unlikely to occur, and that limits you from doing what you can do today, I don't recommend that strategy. It's not going to be very useful to you. Now, there are things we can do further still when you go through the program to tip the scales even further in your favor than what we have the time to describe right now. I want to show one little taste of that, if I could, Will, real quickly here. On my screen, I have Smart Scout. You will learn in your program. So I just did a filter for baby. It could be any of these categories. I turned on product page score. And this is where Smart Scout, by pages, they evaluate and they say these products, they don't look that good. And I found this one product on here that I love so much. Well, so this was a pretty bad one. I wouldn't be a reseller of this product anyway, because I looked at some of the reviews real quickly and there was a lot of 1-star reviews on it. But this product is selling a lot. This Proxeed product, and this is its listing. One really bad image here, no bullet points there, no real copy, nothing. Terrible, right? And so I found that it was just the first listing here. It sells $24,000 a month. But look at this thing. It sells $100,000 a month with 5 resellers on it last they checked. And if we were to go to this product, here's the product image. This is what's selling right now. $250. Something weird's going on here. Something weird is happening where this product is selling with no bullet points in spite of itself, not doing that great of a job. And somehow enough of this is being sold, at least last count, that it runs merit here. Should you approach a brand like this? Maybe. I don't know if you should or not. I'll leave it to you to decide. It's a 50-50 deal. Sometimes these brands that are so out to lunch, they don't care, right? You ever go up to anybody's house when you're a kid who didn't cut their lawn and say, I'll cut your lawn? There's a reason their lawn isn't cut. They don't care. But 50% of the time, they're unaware of it. And you bringing it to their attention can get you a nice reseller account really quickly. But look at all of these different ones that don't have these very good, very well-designed listings. These are all random. I've never looked at any of these listings before, but here's one. It has one image of a product and just one image. It only has 11 reviews. It only has one left in stock. See, these are the things that get me interested. How many of these opportunities and how many different ways can we shake the tree loose and have opportunities fall out? It is insane how much opportunity is out there waiting for people like you with the proper training and foundation to take advantage of them. This is what I like. To Will's point, we are picking products. Will and I had just showed you products that frankly make no sense to even sell one of them. Yet they're selling tens of thousands of them. How does that work? I don't know. This is what I love about this business model. Sales trumps everything else. Will and I have a client right now that we're working with, big client, sells a couple $100 million of stuff per year. And we had to explain to him the other day, we're like, we don't know why this thing sells. I have theories. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. But he's saying, should we change it? And we're telling him, no, don't change a damn thing. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. Logically, it doesn't meet any rules of any marketing I've ever discovered. But the money is more important than any rule or any theory that any of us can determine or develop. And so I want you to find products where we can't even understand why they're selling, but they're selling them to us, and data will become from Amazon that shows you that they're selling. These are the types of products you want to be another seller of. And so we diminish any chance where you pick bad product after bad product after bad product. The other Amazon models, though, lead you to believe that picking products is hard, because the way that they do it makes picking products a big black box, and it is hard. Then you don't know. You have to guess, or you have to be super sophisticated and intelligent. And Will and I are pretty good at business, but man, what's our track record, Will, on picking the right products to sell on Amazon when we're going from scratch?
Not very good.
Not very good. Not very good.
I don't know, but not very good.
Not very good. Have we made a lot of money on Amazon? Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
We're still not very good at picking products from scratch to try to figure out this new product. If we were to launch it and roll it out this way, would it be successful? The answer is, I don't know. But with these products,
let's be very clear and specific. When you're talking about picking products from scratch, you're talking about us creating our own brand of another product that sells, like private labeling, which is completely different than this model.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. If I said, hey, listen,
we spent probably definitely hundreds of thousands of dollars, trying to create brands because we knew a particular thing would sell. Like this particular beauty cream would sell a lot of on Amazon, or does sell. So we wanted to create a computing beauty cream to that other brand. And we just could never get it off the ground. And we spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising and marketing dollars and buying inventory. And
Now,
it didn't work.
It takes 1 out of 10 to get you rich, right? If you fail 9 times, but you win 1 time, then you're rich. But that is a model where there's a high degree of uncertainty and it's challenging. So this is the have your cake and eat it too approach. Because if I were to sell my own milk bag, like we just saw there, right? Hell, I don't know. I would walk in and think, well, I would have better graphics than that person, so I should sell more than them. And I would have a better listing, and I could write a better title, and I could do this, and I could find their supplier and create my own version of that. There's just too many unknowns there. There are too many assumptions that you have to make in order for that thing to sell. But if you said, if I sold this exact same thing on this exact same listing at this exact same price, what variation is there? You don't have to make any assumptions in that particular instance. And so this is why we're so high in this model. And this is why we also recommend that you have a variety of products and a variety of different niches, because it is not likely, but very, very rarely, a particular product can have a hiccup on Amazon. Amazon says one day, we don't want any more of this product for now until we evaluate it further. And overnight, they pull the rug out on a product. Does that happen very often? Almost never. But you do this long enough, and you might encounter it. You might bump up against it. But if you have 8 different products over a period of time and 8 different types of markets and 8 different things, then you won't even notice if that ever occurs. You'll have the movement also to jump on any new product faster and quicker and sooner than anybody else ever can. You know, by the time people got fidget spinners on Amazon, the fad had already passed. So anytime somebody's, I'm going to create my own fidget spinner brand, by the time they got it branded and got it live on Amazon, the fad had already passed. But if you were a reseller of fidget spinners, you could have been hopping on that the day after you discovered that it was hot. And you could have rode that trend for as far as you wanted to ride it. This gives you the ability to do that. Me personally, I don't want to ride any trend. I want boring old products like chainsaw oil that just seem to sell day in and day out. I don't think chainsaw oil is going to trend one day and go really popular and go viral on TikTok, right? But I'll be damned if that thing just don't sell day in and day out. Give me 100 of those types of products.
Never say never, Jason. Never say never.
Yeah, but give me 100 of those products and I'll be very happy. I want boring products.
Some enterprising customer who's here on this webinar is going to prove you wrong someday on how they can make chainsaw oil very, very popular.
Yeah, prove me wrong in those ways and I'll be very happy. Prove me wrong when you show me how you'll make even more money than I would ever think you could make. That's the one I love to be wrong. But the point of it stands nonetheless. We want boring products that are not really on anybody's radar, but when you peek under the hood, they're selling hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions and millions of dollars. And they need another reseller like you, because they're not being taken care of right now by the people who are selling them. Nobody's really paying attention to them. I know to you, if you had a brand that was $1 million a year, you would pay attention to it. But not after you've done it for 20 years straight, and not after you're making hundreds of millions of dollars. Then $1 million is not that much to you anymore. That's what a lot of these brands are. They just have these products that are selling and they're not paying attention because it's a Tuesday to them. What would be life-changing income to you is a Tuesday to them. And so they need you to have their back, so that way all this loose change that totals up to millions of dollars doesn't fall through the cracks, and that's how you get paid.
$1 million. I know it was a while ago, but that brand, that horse brand that we were talking about, where someone watched your webinar and got that's $1 million brand.
Yep.
Somebody watched your webinar, got the brand that you showed. Does $1 million in sales per year. Someone got the exclusive for that. So that's just an example of success and taking action in progress. on the same webinar that you're on right now. Someone did that, and you have that opportunity in front of you right now to do that too.
Amen to that.
Nothing stopping you.
That's killer.
There's a lot of things stopping them.
So let's do just a time check here. We're 3 hours and 1 minute into this webinar, and there are still almost 200 people here, which is great. I'd love to hear questions that are specific to helping you make a decision, because there are three potential states of making a decision. Wait, Jason, why don't you cover those three states?
Yeah, and these are the things that'll stop you, right? The opportunity won't stop you. It's what you put in front of the opportunity in the form of excuses that will stop you. So the three states of decision making are simple. There's a yes, there's a no, there's a maybe. Yes is my favorite. No is my second favorite, though. And I won't even say my least favorite is maybe, because I would never, ever put the word favorite next to maybe. Maybe is a very distasteful word in my mouth. Maybe has cheated more people out of happiness than maybe any other thing that's existed when it comes to making decisions. Because maybe has this problem of feeling like you're doing something when you're not. Thinking it over is another way of saying maybe. And thinking it over allows you to pretend you're going to do some serious cognitive processing to determine if this makes sense for you or not. But usually maybe is simply you being okay with pushing it out of your field of vision for now, because you don't then have to confront any responsibility for growth. It's brilliant, and it's in the way that it works. Because you can say maybe all damn day long, you can feel good about yourself, and then you could not grow. Ultimately, it will cheat you and rob you. Just kind of like eating chocolate cake up front, man, it tastes good. But if it's your breakfast, dinner, and lunch, ain't gonna feel good after a while, right? And so we need committed decisions, and we'll take no's as quickly as we'll take yeses. But a no needs to be done once you fully understand the model. You've worked out whatever it is that's inside of you that has trouble with the model. And that's the only way you can ultimately decide if it's not for you, is you've exhausted what is reasonable for your concerns. Oftentimes what Will and I find out, though, because we kind of been doing this for a while, the people that have been on webinars this long and been on more than one of these webinars and who have really actually went out and researched it and thought about it, and it makes sense to them, it's hard for us to believe that the answer is no. So we know most of you on this call, you're in maybe land. And the best thing for you would be a yes. But you want to stay in maybe, because then maybe will become no without you ever having to own it. Maybe becomes no when that countdown timer hits 0. And then you can feel good about not having made a decision, which is frustrating to me, especially when I know that the real decision is yes. But here's the challenge with a yes decision. You have to accept new responsibility in your life. And that's hard. That's hard. Because now when you say yes to this, you have to accept that, hey, your financial future is in your hands. It's not in the government's hands. It's not in your next door neighbor's hands. You know, it's not in the stock market's hands, or it's not in whatever recession or inflation cycle you may catch. It's in your hands squarely and certainly. And it's hard to take that responsibility. It's hard to step up, even when what you're stepping up to is the thing for you. And so I get it. It's easy to stay in maybe. But for anybody, whether the answer is yes or no, it usually is boiled down to a question. And I don't care how aggressive the question may be. And if it's very aggressive, I'm as equally pleased as if it's a benign question. But there's a question, and it's usually just a question that's helping you or preventing you, I should say, from saying yes or no. And that's what Will and I ultimately hunt for on these webinars, is that question. There is one thing in your mind that drowns out every other thing in your mind that keeps playing on repeat. And you need to know the answer to that before you can make a decision one way or another. And are you brave enough to offer that question up? Now, many of you have, and I appreciate that. Some of you hope that somebody else asks it for you. And that's okay too. We get some of that as well. But we would hate to leave a question only in your mind that doesn't get spoken out loud that we cannot answer, because then we for sure can't help. And be very clear here, right? Well, we don't want people in this program who are not the right fit for it. That doesn't help us. And so if you have a question and we are like, okay, once we give you an answer, you get it and you understand that. And it like if you absolutely are sold on the idea that you have to have a brand and you understand the risk involved with having your own brand where you create your own products and you won't have it any other way, this program isn't for you. See, there's a lot of people out there, they let their pride get in the way of their profits. And we do not want these people in this program because we are a profit first. I would rather be rich than right type of philosophical entity. And these are the people that we hope to attract. The inventors, we're not interested in having inventors join the Wholesale Formula. We don't want you to invent anything. We want you to be another reseller, right? That's all we want. So if you're okay with, so this is funny. Vera Diana says, is this a scam? And I know she's joking, right? But literally, if you sat there and thought, this sounds too good to be true, this seems like a scam, I would want you to accuse me of being a scam artist. I would want you to say, Jason, why should I believe you? Why are you selling this to me? If this was so good, why aren't you doing it yourself? I would want questions in that line if those were authentic questions that you were having trouble reconciliating before making a decision. And here's a really good one. I would be devastated financially and mentally if I failed here too and truly lost that much money. Yes, that's the question. That's the type of question that we're looking for here. I get it. Don't think it's not lost on me. You're in a conflicted position right now where part of you is saying, I know this is the most promising thing that I could do right now in my business. But another part of you is saying, if this doesn't go well, I am screwed. I am ruined. I am devastated. I don't think I could ever recover. So this has to work. Okay. That's the question. That's a really good question that Will and I live for when we talk on these webinars. That's the $1 million question, not the should I get a reseller license or not. I mean, those questions all get answered in the program. Now, 2 things to that question. What I've discovered is that if you put that much pressure on yourself psychologically, it will affect how you show up, whether or not you buy this program or any other program, or ultimately, if the pressure's too much, you buy no program, right? So in that particular instance, I would look at this holistically. I am sure you have made decisions in your life that have stretched you financially and mentally. And yet, even though those decisions may not have played out the way you thought they were going to, here you still are. You still happen to find a way to come onto a webinar like this and understand an opportunity like this. I don't think there's any one single event that will set you back that is catastrophic when it comes to selling on Amazon with the Wholesale Formula. You might not get there as fast as you like. You might have your own tendencies to put things off and procrastinate a little bit. So you might have to give yourself a couple pep talks. Certainly that's the case, right? I don't think this is a situation, though, where anything can happen to you where if you're earnest, you're not going to be better off. So the real question then is, how can we have you go through this in earnest? How can we have the most authentic version of you show up as you go through this program and feel as safe as possible as you move forward? That's what we'd want to look at and evaluate when we made a decision on something like this. And I think this really strikes the chord of why Will and I are so excited about this, is because the emphasis here is not on increased risk to increase reward. The emphasis here is on how do we significantly decrease risk without decreasing reward. And do you know any other place that can do that for this type of offer? I don't think so. Maybe there are things that can do it, but damn, those are the same types of programs that are going to get you stuck in a different loop. Those are the programs that don't scale. You work them once, and then the moment you stop to take a break, they quit making you money. You want to talk about ruining yourself financially or mentally? Get involved in one of those programs. Some of you on this call, you have one of those right now. You've made some decent money in your life, but you're on a hamster wheel. To me, that's worse. Being high paid but high stressed, that's worse. That's another benefit of this model, is you can have a life outside of this business. What a wonderful concept, huh? And it delinks your ability to have to push the boulder up the hill with your nose every single time you want to go make some money. There's some steps involved at the beginning, but then they're tough. Only once, and then you solve them. And they're not even tough physically. They're tough psychologically, and we get you through them, and we break them down, and we make them simple. Here's another one. I've been wanting to get into Amazon. This is from Vera Deanna as well. I've been wanting to get into Amazon for 3 years. I'm in the maybe because I have trouble trusting, but I would love to be confident and take the risk. So this is a really good question too. So if you were my client and we were sitting here doing a session, a coaching session, and you wanted to know how to trust and when to make good decisions based on trust, I would say, how do you know when to trust someone and when not to? That's where we'd first start dialoguing it. Because the matter isn't necessarily, do I trust you or do I not trust you? The matter is, how do I know when to trust somebody? When is it safe to trust? And when isn't it safe to trust? And we would build a model to help you make that decision. We would say, in these circumstances, with these indicators, there's enough trust involved for me to move forward with something that I feel is worthy of pursuit. And at the same time, we would discover, how do we know when not to trust? When these things occur, these are red flags which determine for us which determine that we shouldn't pursue this further until we can feel more trust and more comfort. So this is meta decision-making skills that we would start to suss out and try to figure out. But the reality on something like this is, how much trust do you need to move forward in something like this? Most people, this is the thing that limits them. Is trust to them as an on-off switch. Either I trust you completely or I don't trust you at all. And this is what will keep you in maybe. And this isn't just you specifically. This is everybody that has this issue, where if I don't have complete trust, then I don't trust anyone. And you don't ever make any decision then, right? What percentage of trust would you need in order to feel comfortable to move forward? How much is enough trust? You don't have to believe and trust everything that I say, or everything that Will says, or everything that Dylan says, or everything that Dan says. But how much trust do you need? When do you know enough is enough for you to trust? And by the way, the biggest person you have to trust, and I've saved this for last, isn't me, it's you. How much can you trust in yourself to follow through with this? My guess would be, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, is that the real trust here, the real concern to trust, is trusting yourself with this model, and trusting your capabilities, and trusting your ability to follow through. That's probably the real conversation that we would have. And that one is, to me, it's a very personal one, but at the end of the day, I think when you look at what we do in order to help our clients with these bonuses, with these webinars, with these training programs, and what Dylan and Dan do with the coaching and with the community and with their longevity, right? We're really good at building in the models of, when you see how we show up, you start to show up in a new way. I think that then that type of trust becomes contagious. And I think you can now start to trust yourself again. But what's the alternative? What else could you trust? Is there anything else that you could trust more than this right now that you feel could take you to where you need to go? And I want to read the other one, and take the risk.
Hey,
right?
Jason, I just had a Raul moment here, and I want you to talk about the Raul moment when you answered his next. It's a comment more than a question.
Well, and then I wanted to add the final thing to that, is just, and take the risk, right? I find this very fascinating because I don't think this way. A lot of people think this way. I'm not one of them, though. She ends the question with, wait, where is it? And take the risk, right? But I would love to be confident and take the risk. So this is framed from the perspective that this is a risk. Take the risk. To me, the real risk is not investing in yourself. And I don't mean that means you have to buy this program. The real risk is letting your lack of confidence determine your course of action. Every successful person I know did things that they were not confident in at first because they didn't look at the downside and they didn't magnify it. They looked at it, the upside and the downside, and they said, I'm not ready yet, but I'll never be ready. But it's worth doing, so I'm going to do it anyway. And then over time, they developed the confidence as a result of showing up consistently. And so I wouldn't necessarily evaluate this from just the lens of risk. I think with a lot of people, they over imagine the risk and they under imagine the reward, right? The joke I always had was this. Everybody comes to me and says, how many ways in which this can go wrong? How much money can I lose on this? Nobody ever comes to me and says, hey, how can I accidentally make $2 million with this? Everybody talks downside. Nobody talks upside. Everybody looks at the worst case scenario, the scariest scenario. Nobody looks at the other scenario side, which is just equally represented. They're both equally represented in reality, but in people's mind, it's only the scary, the scary stuff that's overrepresented. So sometimes you got to modulate that. You got to realize I overrepresent the scary stuff by 5, and I underrepresent the actuality by 2. So I gotta diminish it now. If I see 5 scary things and 2 positive things, it's probably net positive for me. So you got to look at it through a different perspective than just, is this the risk? The other risk that I said is the risk of doing nothing. Which risk is greater to you? Probably the risk of doing nothing. Almost always, it seems to be the case in this scenario when we get down to this state of the equation in this communication for this marketing. Okay. And then this is the follow-up to the other question. And this person didn't give me a real name, just triple zeros twice or triple O's. So I don't know the real name. If I join, it will be the last thing I will try online ever. If it doesn't work, I'll be hopeless till the end of my life. You have no idea. So this is high stakes. So what Will is referring to here is the Raul moment. So I can't offer to you up exactly what to do in your specific scenario because I don't know. I don't really know what the stakes are. And I really don't know if this will be the last thing ever for you or not. Okay. I can only offer up to you what I know through the experience of Raul. Raul was in a situation where he joined a program with us, I think way back in 2013 for Amazon. And he was in a position where everything he invested in to start a business had failed. And as a result, he had lost the trust of his wife even. And Raul is about the sweetest, nicest guy you could ever meet in your life. And he ended up investing in a program of ours, and his wife was very disappointed in him because they had made an agreement that he wasn't going to do this anymore without talking to her. He did it anyway. We didn't know that, right? But that's what he did. And she says, fine, this will be the last thing you ever do then. You have to agree with me. Or they made an agreement together, essentially, that if this didn't work, he would have to give up on his dreams of being an entrepreneur, which is hard to do if you have that itch in you. It's hard to do, right? And he made the agreement. And then when they sat down, he said to her essentially, how much money would I need to make for you to be okay with this? And you know these crazy entrepreneurs, they think you need to make $1 million a month right out of the gate. I think that's why they don't even make $1 a month. And she said something, it's been a decade now, so the particulars slipped me a little bit. But I think she says you only need to make $350 a month or something like that, or $650.
It was 500.
$500 a month. Yeah.
500.
$500 a month. That's all you need to make. And so what Raul did, and this is amazing to me, I'll never forget the specific strategy. I might forget the numbers just now, but never the strategy. Raul set his sights so low, he found products nobody else found. Because he only had to make $500 a month. So while all my other students were out there and their eyes were bigger than their stomachs, thinking they were going to do this $50,000 product and they were going to do this hyper competitive product, right? Raul took essentially the products that were lying in the trash, so to speak. And he started there because him and his wife agreed he's going to do $500 a month. And that depressurized, low stakes environment taught me more about success in business than just about anything ever did. Because I'm like, yeah, I can see that. How easy is it to go to work? How easy is it to act on something when there is no pressure involved in the actual doing? I'm not saying there won't be pressure because the finances need to be met. I'm not saying there ain't pressure because if Raul fails, he has to give up on his dream and he's lost respect in the eyes of his wife, right? That's significant pressure. But then when you add on to it the pressure of I got to find the perfect product and the pressure of it's got to be a home run and the pressure of blah, blah, blah. No wonder why somebody could spend the last dollar to their name and still not go through the course. And so my suggestion is, and you're going to have to do some soul searching to decide if it makes sense for you to not to join. But the idea is if you join, I think you set your sights low on something that you are 100% positive you could achieve, just like Raul did, because then you could repeat it. And that's the real secret to success. Remember what I said earlier, life-changing results occur just by showing up and doing the unremarkable consistently. It's not in the miracles. It's not in the Herculean efforts, right? It is mostly showing up in the right places consistently. That is what success is in this business. The right places on Amazon as a reseller, finding products that each squeak out a couple $100 or more per month and just stacking them one after another. And in 10 months, if you do that, you look back, you will never be the same again financially. You have a superpower, almost like alchemy, to command profits from thin air. That sounds like hype, but it's the truth. But you got to put the work in a little bit at a time. You can't eat a steak all at once. You got to chew it in pieces. And the same thing is true with an Amazon business. With that said, though, Will, and again, I can't speak to his or her particular scenario. I've been in some scenarios where I thought if this doesn't work, I'm ruined, and then it didn't work. Turns out I wasn't ruined after all, right? I was a little dramatic about the situation. You can always find a way to go on, right? Churchill said it best: when you're going through hell, keep going. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do for yourself in a day is to take one step and put it in front of the next one. And if that's all you do for the day, sometimes that's enough success for you. When you're going through hell, keep going. So even if you meet some challenges in your life, they don't have to end you. And I've been through some significant ones in my life, and all of them end up being invested into the next thing. And they build your character on the way if you can let them. That doesn't mean we want to torture ourselves. Certainly. I'm not all about that. I'm not all about that grind set where you work 80 hours a week, because every single time I've seen anybody do that, it's always ended in disaster. We call that an addiction, and there's nothing good that comes out of addiction. But my point is even if things don't go your way initially, don't write it off so soon. It's amazing what you can bounce back from, and it's amazing what you can take and use as an investment into the next experience. So I would also suggest, and you're right, I don't know. I have no idea of your particular scenario, but sometimes if I can forget about the future and the past and get involved in just the present, it's amazing what I can do that I never could do under any circumstance. And again, all of this stuff all these thinkings that I'm giving you right now, they're all baked into the product. They're all baked into the bonuses. They're there to help get you to these places, even if you don't know that they're part of it. Like, I don't know how electricity works, but I flip a light switch on and I get light. That's kind of how we try to build these things. Oh, Oliver, thank you for sharing your name with us, Oliver from Montreal. Yeah. Now, nothing is guaranteed in business, just like nothing is guaranteed in life. Certainly not it. I've had some tragedies in life where people I knew that I thought were going to be with me for a long time ended up being with me for a very short period of time. There is a certain amount of uncertainty in this world that you have to be okay and you have to accept. But we can't dictate what might happen and allow that to stop us from what we can make happen. And I've always found that if I put myself in the driver's seat of my life, even if things don't go my way, it's much better than staying in the passenger seat of life and letting somebody else make my decisions for me and letting the set of the sail determine where I go. by the wind that's blowing instead of the set of the sail, I should say. Some people let the wind blow them from here to there, as opposed to setting their own sail. I've always found being in the driver's seat of my life more advantageous than being in the passenger seat. But I grew up the first 20 years of my life not knowing I could be in the driver's seat, not realizing I even had that choice. So whatever decision you may make, whether it's a yes or no, still find a way to take that driver's seat in your life. Thank you, Oliver, for that. Okay. I'm not going to read it out loud, but thank you. Appreciate it. I will say the last sentence, slight hope. It says, you've given me slight hope. Sometimes you just got to crack open that door just enough. If it's locked and it's closed, you can't get anywhere. You give me a little crack on something, man, I'll take a crowbar to that. I'll take a pry bar to that. I need a little bit of that leverage. It's amazing what you can accomplish with even a bit of slight hope where there once was nothing but despair and no hope. So I appreciate that with you, Oliver. And hopefully for the rest of you who heard this, maybe inspirational, that matters less to me, but hopefully that helped you perhaps make a decision. And again, I know the bias is towards a yes for most of you. Because, man, I've given you enough information at this point. You're still here. Okay. So at some point in time, no matter how much we like each other, we got to call it. I love it. Lindsay says, just ran to the edge of the shore and put a toe in. Very exciting. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. See how these little subtle differences in viewing the problem can change the problem completely. That's what we do. That's what we like. And we build that for these businesses too. This is why Will and I will spend you can't even, oh my God, you can't even count the number of hours we spent in thinking, designing, doing, and creating solutions so you can find products to sell on Amazon with one click of a button. We make it look magical and instant because we took on the burden of all the effort involved so you don't have to. So that's the personification of how we talk about it. Will and I look at this and say, what's the solution? We don't say, what's the problem? And we design things like Smart Scout. And we're able to, or the app for Smart Scout, and we're able to build on top of that. It's amazing how Will and I, like, our bar of accepting of excellence is pretty damn high, right? Like, we used to be able to find products in a minute or two. We're like, that's not good enough. Not for our customers. They got to now find them in a second or two. It only took us 8 months to figure that out.
Jason, I see some questions coming up. The team is answering them in the chat box. At this point, they're all repeat questions. I did just send you a comment from Marsha. I don't know if you want to address her directly or not.
Yeah, we'll make this the end one unless something pops up by the time. You know me, I wax poetic sometime, right? So Marsha here says, I too am pretty damn exhausted. Yeah, we all are, right? I'm like, how do I get these bags out from under my eyes? Maybe it's just a matter of aging for me. But she says, I'm exhausted from other attempted online biz programs. Realistically, what daily time commitments are needed to move through all the modules in 30 days and be ready to contact brands? Well, here's the good news. You don't need to see the whole course in order to start contacting brands. That can happen relatively early. I don't want you to do that too early, because then you might get brands on the hook who would be great brands who you're not quite ready for yet. And so suggested is, Dylan knows the specifics. Is it after module 2 or module 3 when they should start contacting brands?
It's somewhere, I think, after 4, and you're going to be best positioned after 5.
Got it. I mean, and so when do they get access, Dylan, specifically? If they were to sign up today, when would they get access to module 4?
Well, you get access to 1 and 2 instantly. A week later, you would have access to 3, and a week later, you'd have access to 4. So 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today. So 2 weeks is your foundational work that you get to put in, and it's worth it. And so your first 2 weeks, you're going to have to do this stuff anyway before you contact the brand. By week 3, you can either be contacting a brand, or if you prefer, you can wait to week 4 and start contacting a brand then. I'll leave it to you to decide what makes sense for you. You can be like me, where I'm willing to, ready, fire, aim. I'll screw up 5 brand deals and I'll probably land one by the end of week 2. That's just who I am. I've always been that way. Time doesn't apply the same to me as it does to other people. But that I realize I'm atypical. Okay. So this isn't a thing though. Like you learn how to contact brands and then it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to set up. Once you learn and understand, then you can contact brands pretty instantaneously starting in week 3, week 4, probably closer to week 3 than to week 4. Okay. And in terms of the material, I don't know the answer to this offhand, so I'm going to defer to Dylan again because you guys just reshot the whole course again, right? How much material are you consuming really, like most people would consume, to get there for the brands?
Well, we've really intelligently designed the program to where we only include the information that you need, and you could skip the videos that don't apply to you, and it's all laid out for you really easy. So we're talking about just a few hours of material to get there because of the way we consolidate so much of the information to just be what you need to take action, right? Because you're going to learn way more taking action than you're going to learn watching videos of us talk about stuff. So it's intelligently designed to get you to the point where you can take action so that you can start getting results, and you learn so much from that. So it's designed to get results.
Yep. I mean, listen, we've been on this webinar for 3.5 hours. Marcia, I don't know if you've been on it with us the whole time, but if you got 3.5 hours to be on this webinar with us today, you got enough to get through the materials to get to the branding stage. Certainly, by far. Yep. Now, we all learn differently. Some of us learn quicker than others. Some of us can go through and watch videos at 2x speed. Others of us have to pause, replay, right? So I don't know in your specific instance how quick you'll pick up this material and run with it. And this is why I am reluctant to give out timelines and prescriptions and all that kind of stuff. The reality is you get through it when you get through it. If you really want to, you could be making deals within a couple of weeks. I certainly could within 2 weeks from scratch, just because of my attitude. I'm really impervious to the normal things that hold people back at this point in my life. I've had to work to get there, but I'm going to know just enough to be dangerous. And then I'm going to go out there and let the marketplace figure it out for me. But I know that that's not normal people. So I would say within 4 weeks, with just a couple of hours, whether that's an hour a week, whether that's, you're going to binge watch it and assimilate it that way, fantastic. And then most of your time is going to be spent not studying and not watching the course materials. Most of your time is going to be spent going out there and contacting brands and going back and forth with them. And then the other part of your time is going to be spent asking questions with the coaches after you've encountered brands and certain things have happened. So then you don't have to go through and try to find it like it's in the Bible, verse 27, whatever, paragraph 4, what was said here, right? You know enough to then ask the right question to your coach. And that's really the value of a program like this. You can't shortcut the education very easily, but you can shortcut the business. And the shortcutting of the business is you're not designing any labels. You're not taking any pictures of any of the products. You're not writing any listings. You're not on the phone with China trying to figure out how to clear customs. You're not going out there and doing insane product research. You're not working through how to run advertising to get traffic to your product. You're not thinking about how many reviews you need before you get the product out the door, right? That's the exhausting stuff. That's why this business is so great. And remember, you get VA placement as a bonus. So the day-to-day stuff, initially, we recommend for most of you to learn how to do it yourself before you hand it off to somebody else. But once you hand it off to somebody else, then the day-to-day stuff can largely be taken off your plate as well. And that's what I think is really great about a business like this is most of it can be handed off. And it can work just as good once you put it into somebody's hands, once you got a brand up or once you got a thing in place or once you got a couple of products to double, triple, quadruple them. And then you can make as much money as you need. For most of you, my guess is it's not as much. It's not a lot. Couple $1,000s a month coming in hands-free. How life-changing would that be for you? So it's nice to think about the millions of dollars and the fancy vacations to exotic islands in the gated communities and all that kind of stuff, but that stuff don't really matter too much. You make enough money to just say, okay, I don't have to look at price tags when I go to the store again. And I can get enough breathing room to focus on the other more important things in my life. That's the game changer stuff. And usually that's an extra 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a year. That's it. Then if you want to go further with that, you certainly are welcome to. But the confidence that I have in your ability to create that breathing room from where your finances are right now to where they need to be in order for your life to be significantly better, I am confident you follow this program, you show up, and you got a little bit of a desire, a little bit of focus, we got you. Quadwin.com.
Excellent. I think that is a great spot to end the webinar. I don't know if Dylan has any parting words, or Jason, you'd like to say anything else. Otherwise, thank you everybody for being here. Much appreciated, and we'll get the recording out as soon as possible.